Hey, what's up, you guys? This is NateFNGreat. We will be getting the show started very soon, so please enjoy some music while we get everything set up.
Ladies and gents, this is the moment you've waited for. You've been searching in the dark, your sweat soaking through the floor. And buried in your bones, there's an ache that you can't ignore. Taking your breath, stealing your mind, and all that was real is left behind. Don't fight it, it's coming for you, running at you. It's only this moment, don't care what comes after. Your fever dream, can't you see, getting closer? Just surrender, cause you feel the feeling taking over. It's fire, it's freedom, it's flooding open. It's the preacher and the pulpit and your blind devotion. There's something breaking at the brink of every wall that's holding all that you know. So tell me, do you wanna go where it's covered in all the colored lights, where the runaways are running the night? Impossible comes true, it's taking over you. This is the greatest show. We light it up, we won't come down, and the sun can't stop us now. Watching it come true, it's taking over you. This is the greatest show. Colossal we come, these renegades in the ring, where the lost get found and we crown them the circus kings. Don't fight it, it's coming for you, running at you. It's only this moment, don't care what comes after. It's fighting, outshining anything that you know. Just surrender, cause you're coming and you wanna go where it's covered in all the colored lights, where the runaways are running the night. Impossible comes true, intoxicating you. This is the greatest show. We light it up, we won't come down, and the sun can't stop us now. Watching it come true, it's taking over you. This is the greatest show. Where it's covered in all the colored lights, where the runaways are running the night. Impossible comes true, it's taking over you. This is the greatest show. We light it up, we won't come down, and the walls can't stop us now. Watching it come true, it's taking over you. This is the greatest show. This is the greatest show.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Coda Jacobs, the crusader and visionary behind a brighter future in wrestling. If you're an honorable and noble public servant like myself, you are listening to the Game Changer Podcast.
It's the truth that in love and war, worlds collide and hearts get broken. I wanna live like I know I'm dying. Take up my cross, not be afraid. Is it true what they say? The words are weapons, and if it is,
Hey everyone, it's the Princess of Pro Wrestling, SoCal Val. You are listening to the Game Changer podcast. Sending lots of love from California. Mwah.
1, 2, is this on? Yo, Jimmy, hit me with that Triple H. Yeah, you let the music keep playing, Mr. Don. Yo, tell me whose time it is now. Yeah, just kicking it up here. Sometime, yo, here comes trouble. Not gonna listen to anybody. Tell me who and what to be. Not trying to be like everybody. Time to play, make believe. 'Cause I lead the blind, lead the blind, lead the blind. I'll die this time. I'll die. We're not looking back, we've had enough. You don't know what trouble is. But the game, politics, sissy talk on town. Bully fools, stupid rules. I've had enough of this. Oh, you stupid rules. Yo, you keep your finger off the switch, gun. Oh, you stupid rules. Don't you understand your own delusion? Oh, you stupid rules. Don't you understand your own confusion? Oh, you stupid rules. Make up a fantasy in your little mind. Follow the leader, let the blind lead the blind. Oh, you stupid rules. Follow the leader, let the blind lead the blind.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is that wonderful time of the 5-year marker because it's the 5-year anniversary show. Welcome to the Game Changer podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I am NateFNGreat, the paladin of positivity, and I'm very fortunate to be joined here by somebody who I have considered a friend and also somebody that I'm very proud to say have been working with for 5 years. As long as I've been doing this podcast, one of the first people that I got the chance to interview, and honestly, one of the first few people that really opened my eyes to how wonderful the world of professional wrestling, as well as, celebrity life can be. That, of course, being the one, the only, the lovely California, SoCal Val.
Yay! Thank you so much for having me, Nate. Happy anniversary. 5 years. This is a reason to celebrate.
This is quite indeed. And guys, we're going to be talking a lot about some of our favorite memories over the past 5 years. We're also going to be talking about maybe some of the changes that we've noticed over these last 5 years, because 5 years, especially for us, has definitely been an eye-opener when you look back at how things have just changed since we first started getting together and started doing this. It's going to be absolutely great. And also, guys, you want to leave a deal in the chat. If you have any questions, by all means, let us know. We want your voices heard. We want to know what you guys are thinking. I actually do have a couple of questions that we will get to later on in the show. But
Yay.
I definitely want to ask this first question to you, Val, because I don't know if I've ever asked this question to you. But, so, obviously, like I said, 5 years we've done this, and I think even today could even mark the first time that we actually did a show together. So, I want to ask you this question. What was your, honestly, and there's not going to be a situation where it's going to be like I'm setting you up or something like that. No, this is I want to know the honest answer. What was your first impression when we did our first podcast together?
Well, luckily, it's all positive because I was actually just talking about this in a Patreon chat, but how professional you are. And I remember thinking, since I didn't know you super well, I thought, well, you never know how these podcasts are going to go. You never know how interviews are going to go. So 2 things that impressed me. Number 1 was the professionalism. And I thought, wow, this guy definitely has, done his homework and is so professional and such a good host, because if all of this stuff that I do is hosting related and, all presenting and all of that. So it's sort of my job to know how to be a good host. And I thought he really, really gets it. He's such a star. And number 2, I have to say that, again, professionalism was something I noticed off the bat. And number 2, I would say that the questions not being generic was such a sigh of relief, because the GAW TV girls and I talk about it all the time, that we like doing interviews, but when we do them, it's so repetitive. How did you get started in wrestling? And this is not, and it's just such a generic interview that all of the interviews end up being the same. So I was really happy that we had a variety of questions, and I think it's a testament to us how good we are as friends now, especially, but even in the beginning, how good the connection was, I should say. because it just felt like talking to a friend. It wasn't like a really boring podcast or interview that I've done so many of before. It felt like it was well thought out and that the questions were, thoughtful, and it wasn't just your generic wrestling interview that I've done so many times before.
It is something that I've noticed a lot of wrestlers definitely coming out and saying, you're definitely one. I've definitely noticed that a lot of people that, we've met have had that same deal where they just don't like that same generic question. I think the only other ones that have been very vocal about that has been the Masters of the Multiverse. I think it was Rosemary, Sienna, and Allie. They had like a deal where they're just asked a question. What are some questions that you hate being asked? And some of the questions that they got repetitively asked is, how'd you first get into wrestling? What's your height? What's your weight? And I hear those questions. I'm like, wait, what? Who wants to know those questions? I'm sorry, but
it gets weird, right?
It is one of those things where it's like, I don't understand why this question was asked. It's just not. It's not something that I would. It's mainly a situation where it's like, if you were talking to this person face to face and you said that, you probably would end up getting a nice big old slap across the face, and not the light love tap on you. I'm talking like probably Stephanie McMahon size slap at this point.
Yeah, and especially like for a female to discuss like physicalities of like height and weight, it's just weird. Like, unless you're a ring announcer that has to say those sort of things out loud, like even like for a guy wrestler or a girl wrestler, that's a really weird question to ask. Anything with physical traits, it's kind of like, what?
It's just one of those things where it's like, it's common courtesy to be like, just don't ask too personal of questions. And I will say that when it comes to personal life, I definitely know that you are pretty open to me and to other people about who you're married to. You talked a bit of your family, and that is something that I admire and definitely respect, especially if there's a situation where it's like, you know what, she's telling me this. It's kind of one of those things, maybe it's just between me and her, but you introduced me to your wonderful husband, which, first of all, was a shock to me that you were married to begin with. I honestly thought it's like she's going to be like immortally single forever. Not in the bad way, but just one of those things like nobody's going to handle SoCal Val. And it's like, no, here's my hubby. It's like, okay, I was wrong. One person can handle her at this point.
And when you talk to him for like 5 minutes, people go, oh my God, I totally get it. Because he's not from wrestling. And there's so many of us that end up with wrestlers and, having dated wrestlers and stuff, which I have. It's kind of neat that it's that he's not involved in the business. And then when people meet him, but people do kind of wonder, like, how does this work? Like, he's not a wrestler. So how'd you meet him? And it's a very fun subject for them to sort of delve into because they don't know anything about him. And then when they meet him, they're like, okay, we totally get why, this guy swept you off your feet, because he is just so much. The first thing I say about my husband all the time is that they're like, what's he like? And I always say, he's so much fun. He's so much fun. And that to me is sort of, one of the most important things is it's somebody that needs to be your best friend, that can be, they can make any situation fun. Someone you want to be stuck with somewhere, and they can make it fun. So he ticks all those boxes for sure.
Yeah, no, if you guys don't believe that, definitely check out God TV, the show that Val, Mickey James, and Lisa are a part of, where he does this segment called The Arm Bar. And in all honesty, it's great. It is one of those things where it's like, huh, so we do get some kind of deal for like possibly the guys, or possibly some eye candy for the girls. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and you know what? All the cocktails, I get to sample them because I'm a very good wife and a very good professional golf TV host like that. And I get to sample all the cocktails, and they are all amazing. So even if people a lot of times just like watching the arm bar, but a lot of people have actually said that they've tried to make the cocktails, and they're so good.
So I definitely do want to ask you this, that you definitely are, a connoisseur when it comes to a lot of, the adult beverages, and you definitely talk a lot about, some of the drinks that you like. Has there ever been a drink that you've had that has just been either bland or just one of those things where it's like, yeah, I'm not doing this again?
Ooh, it's funny you say that, because on God TV, so our very first sponsor was Fresh Fine Wine, and we all love wine. We're wine drinkers. Everyone has their own cocktail of choice, but all three of us really do enjoy wine. Mickey and Lisa are more red wine fans. I'm more of a white wine fan, but I pretty much like all wine except for certain types. Like there's Chardonnay, and they were so sweet to send me some samples of some, but Chardonnay I really don't like, and I think that if you liked if you like any Chardonnays, this was a good Chardonnay. It's just the taste of Chardonnay is really not my preference. But there's also been some things, just as an influencer, that people have sent me that I've just really had to be honest and say I don't like. The rest of the fresh fine wines I loved. It was just that particular brand or that type of grape is not for me. And there are some times that people will send like energy drinks or oils and different things, and you have to just be honest in your reviews because, like, I remember one time they sent me, a company sent me designer perfume dupes, like, as in knockoff designer perfumes, and I thought, well, maybe they're going to smell the same, or they were so bad, and they sent me like 3 or 4, and I was like, I can't even like have a straight face when talking about this on camera, and I would never lie about it. So I'm sorry, but I appreciate you sending your product, but I hated it. And that's always awkward, but you have to have the integrity as an influencer and as a, I don't want to say public figure, but you have to have integrity, because if you just go, oh, I love everything that's said to me, then you're a liar, and it's happened, and it makes it very awkward for us, for sure.
But like you said, it also talks about your integrity. It talks about the fact that you are honest about that. You're not going to be just a yes man who just, or I should say yes woman, I should say, that kind of, just says, oh, I like it, but in reality I actually hate it, because then those are people that are going to, that basically say, hey, you said that this was so good. It's like, it is good. I like it. It's like, well, I don't like it, so it feels more...
and you don't want to piss off the brand either, you don't want to like make the company upset but you also, you have to have integrity first, and when you hate something and you really wouldn't wear it yourself or wouldn't eat it yourself or drink it yourself, you got to be honest, I think.
No, I definitely do agree with that. So I definitely do admire and respect the fact that you are indeed honest about, things about that. And I think that definitely is, like I said, it shows your integrity, and it shows, one of the best characteristics. Again, she's an honest person. She calls it like she sees it. which, after watching 3 episodes of God TV, that's absolutely awesome. I do want to bring up one episode, though, because I did say that there's one moment already in the early genesis of these episodes that I'm not going to let you live it down. It's so funny because I'm going to be plugging God TV quite a bit, because it is something that is just wonderful. 3 grown-ass women. Oh, I said ass. Oh, no, I don't care at this point.
It's okay. Nikki dropped an F-bomb the other day on the show.
I remember that.
I was supposed to bleep some of this stuff out, and I think I missed another one this week. It was so funny, but we actually think it's funny because everyone in the chat room just erupts and like, oh my God, when she dropped that F-bomb, it was so funny. And you could see her in the chat room. She was like, I can't believe I just did that.
I mean, I get it that, she's a mom. She's got to be a role model. But at the same time, she is human. So she has a right to just, say whatever is on her mind. And again, I just one of those things I admire about her. But,
oh, yeah.
But the point I was trying to get across, I think it was like the second episode in, that I think you were talking about blow dryers. And you were just talking about how it was good, and just you saying the phrase, "I love a good blowjob." I'm like, wait, what? I thought about editing that out too, but the girls thought it was so funny. I was like, whoopsie. It was one of the few times where I'm just like, wait. I need to hear that. I don't think I heard that. This is SoCal Val we're talking to.
For me, like, I don't ever curse on camera or say anything like lewd or whatever. So they were just like, people in the chat room were like, did you mean to leave that in? I was like, well, I remember saying it after it happened because I was like, oh dear God. But that's why we don't want to edit too much of it out, because it has to be authentic. And actually, we have a Patreon now, patreon.com/GodTV, and we're putting up bonus clips and stuff, and we're kind of doing more unedited and longer videos because we want people to just, we have to edit it for time mostly. We want the show to be like 30 to 45 minutes. But I'm telling you, like, some of the stuff that's cut out and that you see on Patreon, and I have clips that I've made actually today to post on there, and they're so much fun. I mean, it's just silly. We have Donovan, Mickey's son, coming to run in and say hello. We've got, things falling. There's just all kinds of wacky stuff that happens.
I will say that what comes to mind when I think of God TV is just the amazing just entertainment value that Lisa brings to the table. I mean, first episode, she dresses up like a dinosaur, and so many people are just like, oh, we want that so bad. Second episode, we see her walking around with, apparently it looks like TP coming out of her butt. It's like, huh.
Yep, that's Lisa. That's Lisa for you. There was an episode of, what was it? It was a show we were doing for Fight TV, and it was during WrestleMania weekend in Orlando. I'll never forget. And she goes, okay, so just because it's me hosting with Damian Nelson, who's amazing, and we're sitting there hosting, and we're supposed to bring Lisa in, right? She's supposed to walk onto the set, And she goes, just tell me when I want to come in. I said, okay, here she is, ladies and gentlemen, here's Lisa. And she comes in and she, like, takes a bump flat on her face, but on purpose, because she just thought it would be so funny to shock us by walking in and just falling flat on her face. And it was the funniest. First, it was scary. I'm like, are you okay? But it was the funniest thing because, like, she can't just do a normal walk-on. Like, that's not Lisa. She's so zany and so much fun and always willing to make fun of herself. And I think that's what I love most about her. Is she's never too big to, like, you know, make herself the butt of the joke, you know?
She's definitely relatable. She's one of those people that now looking at how she's, you know, putting herself on a bit of a pedestal and how she just makes, you know, these moments just absolutely hilarious. She does a fantastic job with it, and that's just awesome because the fact that A, it makes her human, and B, it makes her very hilarious. It's one of those things where, like, why didn't we get this, you know, side of Lisa in, like, a big wrestling organization? Why did we have to have her do, like, these crazy and serious characters? She would have been absolutely just amazing, just doing all these random deals where she could maybe just, I don't know, maybe she just slips out a banana peel. Oh, she pinned somebody. What?
That sounds exactly like something she would do, and that's the thing. Like I said, she kind of like she always puts the audience first in terms of what would they want to see that's funny, you know. And she's so above maybe, you know, feeling stupid or whatever. She's very secure, and her being secure in that does make her a grown ass woman because she's very confident that way.
No, definitely. I admire that. I respect that. I think that's really awesome, and I also will say that it is cool that you got, you know, somebody, a veteran in the ring like Mickie James also in there as well. And you do have 3 different women with 3 different mindsets, and it creates for an absolutely amazing deal. So God TV, definitely check that out, you guys. It's amazing. She mentioned the Patreon deal. It's awesome. It is absolutely just amazing. Their opinions are just absolutely wonderful. It's just great.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, the good thing about it is we do, and I so appreciate that, and I honestly thank you so much. But it is fun that we are all, like, I keep saying to people, it's a cool dynamic because we're all different ages. We're all in different parts of the world, literally. Lisa's in San Diego. She's turning 50 next year, if you can believe that. She's retired from wrestling. Mickie is, you know, she's in Virginia and Nashville splitting up the time. She's still very much in wrestling and WWE. I'm, you know, I'm going to say early 30s because 34 isn't technically mid-30s yet, but let's just say I'm in my 30s. God, how long can I say early 30s for? You know, living in England for crying out loud. You know, where do you exactly? Damn it. But you know what? We have a lot going on. We're in different parts of the world. We have different, you know, career paths, different relationships and stuff. And it does make for a cool dynamic. You know, if we were all the same exact age, same town, it wouldn't nearly be as wacky as it's come to be.
No, definitely do agree with that. And I said this during our show with Yumi, Melina, and Lisa, and I'll say it again. Hey, she may be 50, but she's still way out of my league.
Don't we love her? And yeah, we are going to involve Melina too soon, so we'll be seeing some of her on GOT TV very soon.
Oh man, that is going to be absolutely amazing. And you also mentioned you were probably thinking about bringing Chavito into one of the Up for Tier episodes.
We have to. We keep talking about that because we're all such good friends with Chavo. And Chavo, like, even all of the guys we're with, were like, they would understand if we said, okay, we're going to go land a girls' trip, but Chavo's coming. That's how much of a girl's favorite he is. And it's funny because he's a very masculine dude. It's not like he's, like, really feminine, per se. It's just that he gets along with the girls so well. And we trust him with our lives. He's just amazing. And we just know that whether he wants to contribute to the show on a segment or come in as a guest or both, we just know he was at, like, the top of our list when we thought about people. I thought of people like Chavo, Daniels, God, there's so many people that we want to involve, girls and guys. But Chavo he's a must. He is a must.
So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, unless we get Chavo, we're not bringing anybody else in. Well, except for MVP and Shelton Benji. They were exempt to the
they got in there quick with the cameos. Yeah, they sure did it. We also have a new cameo. I won't reveal who it is. We've got a woman of wrestling, she's very much a grown-ass woman that is debuting in a couple episodes. So we're going to start to bring in some guests. We really wanted to wait to bring a guest because, you know, we didn't want it to be a show that it's like us interviewing people all the time. That's not the goal of the show.
Right.
And we also wanted to really establish the 3 of us on camera being, you know, how we are just alone first, rather than like we want the fans to sort of see us in our dynamic first, and then guests are a bonus. So we're just so lucky we're so well connected in wrestling. Without sounding cocky, we've all been working at big companies. We know all these people, and it's such a fun excuse to, like, catch up with them and let the fans see what happens. I keep saying the show is like the show is as if we've let you into our hotel room at like midnight or 1 a.m. and we have like top knots and pajamas on and drinking wine and we're a little bit buzzed and we're giggling. Like that's exactly, and we're talking real. We're not sugarcoating anything. We're not filtering ourselves. That's what the show really is. And that's kind of why we did this sort of pajama feel, having cocktails, giggling, because that's what we do in real life. That's what girlfriends do. So that's really what you see on the show. It's just us being real.
It's kind of like a situation where people are just like, see the movies where, you know, all these girls are doing like the whole pajama party and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, this is literally that, only better. It's with grown-ass women.
It is, and you remember, Nate, I used to have a Pillow Talk, so we didn't want the show to be Pillow Talk only. We wanted it to have a more serious name, but because I just did an interview with John Waldman, and he was saying, like, you know, who came up with the idea? And I said, well, Mickey and I were trying to do shows kind of on our own, and we really were trying to make it more like a variety show, and I always loved the Pillow Talk idea, but I don't want it to be, Pillow Talk is funny, and for TNA and Impact Wrestling it worked, but at the time, when it's all three of us and we're going to be talking about a little more important stuff, not all the time, a lot of it's very important nonsense, and it's funny and giggly, but we are going to have some serious moments too, so I didn't want Pillow Talk to sound too sexy or too frivolous. So Grown-Ass Women is kind of like the more sophisticated version of a Pillow Talk.
Hey, it works out, and obviously a lot of people really enjoy it, and there's so many people that still use the hashtag GodTV, which, hey, you like this episode, you like that episode, hashtag GodTV. I'm going to be doing that almost every single time now.
Oh, yes, and you're going to see Nate on GodTV as well, because we've got a question from Nate, so thank you for doing that.
Hey,
so you're going to see his familiar face, too.
Hey, I'm still waiting for my royalties. That's all that matters.
Yeah, you and Nick Aldis, you're waiting for your royalties, I think.
Oh, man. Shout out to Nick, and dude, let's meet up sometime, because you're absolutely amazing. I will tell you this, because this kind of ties into the first day that we actually met face-to-face. I actually did miss out on the opportunity of actually meeting him. I wanted to get the chance to possibly meet him, because he was the NWA World Champion at the time, taking on Cody at that All-In event. But it was one of those things where it's like, between meeting Val for the first time or Nick Aldis, it's one of those things where it's like, there's so many pros and cons to both of them. I'm going with Val. That's one of those things where it's just like, you know what? This was something that we planned. She's only got a brief window to actually do this. Let's do this.
That's right, yeah. I'm sure Nick, we have to tell him that story just because it's funny.
Yes, he will love the idea. He'll love the idea that between the NWA World Heavyweight Champion and a woman who worked in TNA and now lives over in the UK, you can see where this was a conflicting deal.
I think you made the right decision. No, but that was such a fun, that weekend. It was Chicago, kind of just outside Chicago, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And actually, ironically enough, I'm in Rockford, which is about an hour and a half from Chicago. So this is honestly the perfect time to talk about Chicago, because going into the All-In and All-Out events has just been an eye-opener for me. And it definitely is one of those things that helped me kind of get back into the wrestling community, but also feel like you're a bigger part of it. Because for a while it's been like, well, you get to kind of meet with people and that's kind of about it. But it feels like, going to more of these events, you definitely feel like you're making an impact with these people. You're definitely making some kind of deal where you feel appreciated with them. One of my favorite stories to tell, and I did tell this on an episode of the Game Changer podcast where I did an interview with a couple people that are up here, so that'll be out in the near future, is the Rosa Mendez story, where basically she jokes about me getting her a coffee, and I just said, yeah, I'll do it. And she's like, you serious? It's like, yeah, no, I'll definitely do that. So I ended up giving her and Gail Kim a cup of coffee during the weekend, and it's still one of those things where it's just absolutely awesome, just getting the chance to be like, hey, it's not like they're asking me to give them a spleen or something like that. They're just asking for coffee. Whatever. It's fine. It's cool.
Well, now you never know. Maybe now that you got the coffee, that might be next.
Okay, you know what? I did not consider that, but now that you brought it up, it might be the next thing. Although, okay,
that word spleen just freaks me out. It's one of those words. It's like, whoa.
I mean, it probably is something from a horror movie. Anytime you hear spleen in a horror movie, it's just one of those things where like, okay, nope, just.
It conjures images of like the black market and like, you know, what is that story? That might be an appendix, something that they put the person in ice. It's like one of those.
Oh, that's creepy. Yeah.
That's what I think of. It's stuff like that. It's just one of those creepy words, spleen. Well, I think we found our first hashtag of the night, Nate. Hashtag spleen.
Hashtag spleen.
Spleenomania, running wild.
Oh my gosh.
But no, honestly, but without creeping out the viewers, that Chicago, that first podcast that we did, remember we had like a whole audience of people? It was like, people were just coming up. It was like a live show. It was so much fun. And I think people really appreciated that we were doing it in like a public place where it was like almost like part of the convention. And we weren't part of the convention in that way at all. I was there with Fight TV and I was busy doing things here and there. And it was so fun to have people actually, you know, their ears would perk up. They'd come over and, you know, try to listen to what we were doing.
Yeah, I do remember that. There was a couple of people that were sitting next to us, and it's really cool that, you know, you get the chance to talk to more people within the wrestling community. And I believe, didn't like Scott Hall even pass by or something like that?
Yeah, I think that was also the convention where didn't somebody get in the fountain? Like one of the, who did that? Do you remember hearing that about that weekend? It was definitely that weekend.
Oh, jeez.
I don't remember. It was someone. I think was it Buff Bagwell or someone really random like was like in the fountain like talking to fans or something really weird. That was a wild convention.
It definitely was. It was the first time I got to meet so many people that I admired and respected for so long. And I will say this: one of my favorite interactions was the one with me and Jay Lethal. I mean, I don't know why I'd bring that up. It's not like you had a connection or anything with her.
No. Never heard of him.
Just going up to him and just doing the Macho Man deal, and he just slowly is just getting into it, and he just has this big smile on his face. It's just really great just to see that. It's just like, oh yeah. I even said to him, "Are we going to see you and Sanjay getting back together again?" He's like, "I don't know, man. Maybe we'll see."
He is so lovely. You know, it's funny you said that because people were just asking me about Ladder of Love, and they said, "Oh, I watched it," blah blah blah. And they were all saying, I wish Jay would come back and do that impression because it was so iconic. And then him going back and forth with Ric Flair. I mean, that was, I'm sure, a career highlight for him. And it was just such a fun memory for all of us.
Oh my gosh, that promo with him and Ric Flair definitely still stands out as one of the best promos ever and best segments in all of wrestling. Just hearing Ric Flair utter the phrase, "Who can make any woman cry, even that fat one?" Just
oh my God, he's so funny.
Oh my gosh, Ric Flair is just a worldwide treasure that we do not deserve at this point.
We don't deserve Flair. He's such a sensitive guy. Like I was just watching, there was a clip of him talking about retiring and stuff on WWE, and he was getting upset. He has the sweetest soul, and people have seen him many times get teary eyed and stuff on camera. So he's so funny, but he also has just a sweet, sensitive side that people, you know, he does let people see once in a while.
Yeah, that was one of those things. I know which documentary you're talking about. It was like it's like Ric Flair's 24 or something like that, because they documented the WrestleMania 24 weekend. Ironically enough, holy cow! Just him going through the Hall of Fame deal, his match with Shawn at Mania, and then having the whole post Raw deal. Just absolutely emotional. I was definitely a crier during that weekend. That was just absolutely crazy. I will say I do love the story that Triple H tells. I think it was like either like a WWE.com exclusive or it was on YouTube, where Flair was going a little too long and somebody was screaming in Triple H's ear, like, "Tell him to wrap it up, tell him to wrap it up." Triple H goes over, he's trying to get him to wrap it up. Flair continues doing the deal, and people are just like and people are just like, "Did you tell him to wrap it up?" And Triple's like, I told him to wrap it up. What? It's not my fault.
That's like an impossible task. Oh my God. I remember a story. This is actually not a funny one. It's actually a sweet one. But I thought I told you this story. I mean, we've been doing this for 5 years, for crying out loud. I might have already. But one of the signings, it was New Orleans WrestleMania, and we were at, I believe it was WrestleCon, and I know it was New Orleans WrestleMania because I think I told you that story, that I got a horrible allergic reaction and ended up in the emergency room, like the day of WrestleMania. It was really scary. Anywho, that's why I remember that trip so vividly, because like a lot of memories are of me like freaking out, and oh my God, it was so bad. Anyway, that's a story for another time. But Mr. Flair came over, and he would come over to say hello to Lisa and I. We were at the same table as we usually try to, be together at signings. And he just, I think Lisa said something as he was walking up and said, like, "Oh my gosh, your daughter, aren't you so proud of her?" And he was like crying, literally crying, talking about how proud he is of her and how beautiful she is, and he's just so thrilled for her and her legacy. And I was like, this is he's such a good dad, and he is, like I said, I love that he's okay with his emotions. Like, he came over and literally was just gushing about how much he loves her, how much he's proud of her. And I thought it was just a sweet moment, especially to watch it between Lisa and Mr. Flair. It was adorable.
Yeah, and I will say this, that I've definitely grown to appreciate Ashley Charlotte a lot more as the years have gone by, and I just hate seeing all the hate that she's getting, where it's like, oh, she's the champion again, and blah, she's going to have father's record. It's like, she's a Flair. Let her have the record. Let her have a record like this. In all honesty, if anybody should beat, Ric Flair's quote-unquote world title record, it should be her daughter. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying she's going to go for the WWE Championship or something like that, but if she goes on to, have 20 women's tag team title runs, I'm all for it. It sets the bar for a lot of women to be like, well, now I have a bar to set to try and win that title that many times. It's like, yeah, that also means you got to lose the title 20 times. So.
But the thing is, like, if anyone's going to do it, like you said, why not her? And she is a Flair, and she's just that damn talented. Even if she was a Flair and wasn't that talented, that's one thing. But she has just proven herself as not just because she's a Flair, but having done well because she's just that charismatic and that talented. So yeah, I'm happy to see that. And she also has to be a really sweet girl. She's a really nice girl. So that always makes a difference to me. I've seen how she treats the fans and how she is with the fans. And you know what? It's a shame that she's going through that, because you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Because if you're on top, then you don't deserve to be there. But if you're on the bottom, then, oh, you're underrated and blah, blah, blah. So it's really, hopefully she's not letting it affect her too much, because fans can be very, very fickle when they're not supportive, especially when someone's on top. It's like, really? This is what we all wanted, and now it's, oh, well, they get fickle, and I hope that it's not bothering her, because she's better than that.
Yeah, we want this, and then when we finally get it, we're not happy. It's like, what do you want?
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those, I think that somebody, Rob Walker from Channel Awesome, he did a deal where he did a rewrite of the Return of the Jedi movie, which is awesome. Definitely recommend anybody to watch that. He made a comment where he said, the one thing that we can agree about Star Wars fans is that they can never agree about anything. It's like, that's the same thing with wrestling. That is the same thing about wrestling, is that nobody can agree on everything. And if you don't agree with there's some people that, if you don't agree with my opinion, then you're an idiot and you're dumb. It's like, wow, bravo. You definitely are proving yourself as one of the lower tiers of human beings. Way to go.
Way to go. I love it. That's so funny. Yeah, you're right, though. And it's a shame because, art and wrestling and entertainment, it's all subjective. So it would be boring if everyone liked the same stuff and hated the same stuff. But there's a respect level that I think fans don't really always, they're not careful about. Like, even if you hate Charlotte Flair or whatever, if you really don't like her, there's a way to respectfully say that you disagree with someone's push or someone's title match or whatever. But just then people get to the point where they start personally attacking these wrestlers, and it's ridiculous. That's not what the wrestling community should be about. And you meet a few bad eggs. I mean, for the most part, the wrestling fans are great. But you do meet a few bad eggs where you can't please them. They're just never happy with any storyline that, oh, it used to be better back in my day. Everyone thinks it used to be better back in their day. I certainly do. But if you become that bitter old wrestling fan that's just like, oh, they'll never do anything right again, why watch, It's silly.
No, I definitely do agree with you 100%. So I definitely do want to ask this question, because I don't know if I've ever asked this, because you brought up the Ladder of Love match, and that's the deal where you turned on said machismo and joined up with Sanjay. Did you ever receive any major heat from the fans when that really happened, or was it just a situation where it was just it's another heel turn, kind of one of those things that didn't bother them too much?
Well, I mean, nothing serious. I mean, I remember there were a couple tweets where people were, because they were kind of buying into the character, like, oh, you're a harlot, or all you care about is the money, and that was the whole thing with Sanjay. If you remember correctly, I didn't just decide that, oh, I'm going to go choose Sanjay. Sanjay's dad had buckets and buckets and buckets of money. So, in my, SoCal Val opinion, that made a lot more sense for me career-wise and relationship-wise. So shoot me. But the ring was bigger. The ring was way bigger. So, it's one of I didn't get a whole lot of heat on Twitter once in a while, but I think for the most part, people knew that they, were seeing a storyline. That was for the most part. But I remember specifically in that match when I got to do that heel turn, it just felt so right for me to do, because people were always just like, I just can't imagine. I remember people saying this like around the time of this storyline. People were like, I just can't imagine you being, being a healer. I can't imagine you being a Batgirl. And I was like, have we met? Like, I mean, clearly we haven't, because in professional wrestling since 2002, every single show I was on, I might have been a babyface a handful of times, but I was always a heel. The entire SoCal Val character is an arrogant, petulant heel. Period. It's Stephanie McMahon, mixed with a few of Missy Hyatt characters and a Miss Elizabeth Wardrobe, but certainly not that Miss Elizabeth damsel in distress. That was fun to play, but it really didn't feel like my character at all. So when I finally got to make that heel turn, I thought, oh my God, finally. Now I get to kind of show my acting chops and have fun with it, because there's only so much you can do. You're a bit limited when you're the babyface and you're just, pining over this hero of yours. With the Sanjay thing, I really got to sink my teeth into what I thought was always kind of my calling, to be a horrible brat.
I think I realized that around, I want to say it was like maybe year one that we actually started talking.
What do you mean by that? How dare you?
I think that at first I definitely had like the deal where, like, she's the generic nice girl, everything's gonna be fine. But I think once we started doing like prediction battles and stuff like that, it was definitely one of those things where it's like we saw a little bit of the evil side of both of
What am I
us.
getting myself into? Sure.
Hey, to be fair, you've had to do one major punishment, which was saying that I was on the same level as Bobby Roode, which we know that's not true, but still.
Well, but if it made your victory all that much sweeter, then I'm happy to do it.
That's fair.
I guess.
I still love the comments that that we had when I won that, and you were just like, all right, fine, what do you want me to tweet? But nothing about John Cena. I'm like, damn it.
Yeah, I remember some of the punishments there, like when didn't you have to wear pigtails, or we were joking?
Oh my
about
God,
that,
I definitely did want to talk about that, because
I'm sure you didn't.
Oh my God, no, I definitely did.
I was going to bring that up, didn't you?
Oh man, that punishment was interesting, because for me, I think I had to wear like girly pigtails, but I forgot what it was supposed to be for what it was supposed to be for you. I forgot what it was for you, but I do remember losing that, having to wear the pigtails, and I got like this headband with a bunch of the with a bunch of the bows, and I wore that to work.
Yeah.
And so many people at work are just like, "What? Did you lose a bet?" And I just said, "Yes." That's all you really need, is just that.
Well, here's a question for you, Nate. Are you still totally anti-Cena, or have you gotten around to it, or what do you think now?
Cena is a guy who has made mistakes. I will admit that when it comes to certain deals, but he's definitely come around to one of the guys that I definitely do admire his work. I respect the fact that he has definitely been putting a lot into the business, and honestly, him putting over Wyatt the way he did at WrestleMania this past year was just absolutely amazing. So,
Right.
So my hate for him is definitely diminished. It's probably only a little spark of hate for him, but I definitely do respect and admire everything that he does. And honestly, seeing him in the role that he was in Bumblebee was one of those roles where I was like, okay, yeah, no, this fits his character. This fits him. He's not like, Terminator guy just coming in, doing like the Super Cena deal, blah, blah. I think that him doing the Marine was not his best choice, but at the same time, it was his first movie. You gotta give him the benefit of the doubt for that. But
no, it's true, but he's certainly come really, really far. I've watched enough of his stuff to be like, wow. I remember in Trainwreck, I was really impressed with how he was. Even just the other day, he was doing some video with I think it was Lin-Manuel Miranda or someone, one of these funny Google search kind of things. And I think it was, I'm not sure who he was with. The point is, he overshadowed the guy who was an actor, and I was like, wow, he really holds his own now. Like, I don't know if he's gone to acting school, but what? I always thought he was really, really impressive, to be honest, in the first place. I know you don't agree, but even I, who kind of was on his side the whole time, have gone, wow, he has really, really come into his own, and he should be really proud.
No, definitely. I think that another movie that was kind of an eye-opener that this guy has a lot of potential was the Blockers movie. Obviously, there's a word that's right in front of it, but we're not going to go too far. We'll just put.
You're only hearing on God TV for crying out loud after all the cursing we've done. I wouldn't put it past us to be like, oops.
But yeah, it was. It featured him. I think it was Leslie Ham and Ike Barinholtz. And Ike Barinholtz, I loved with his performances on Mad TV. He's definitely been one of those characters that's kind of been in and out. Just like, yeah, he's that funny kind of guy. But Cena and Barinholtz were just amazing together as far as like the comedy goes. And I just remember watching this and thinking, okay, this is one of those characters that I definitely like. He definitely is like a likable character. He's being that dad that's kind of being protective of a daughter. It's just a really good character for him. And it's one of those things where it's like I could honestly see him being that same dad. But then at the end where I had to see his ass, it was like, oh God, no. You were just getting back in my good graces, and then I had to see your butt, dude. Come on.
You had to go and do that. It's interesting you said comedic timing, though, because, I mean, not only has he gotten to be a better actor, but I don't remember him ever being that funny. Like, he is funny, though.
Yeah, he definitely had something in his Kool-Aid. Definitely got him that got his funny bone definitely a lot larger, and it definitely made it a lot better.
Oh, yeah. Hashtag funny bone Kool-Aid. That could be my rap name, I think.
Hashtag funny bone Kool-Aid. Oh, man. There's going to have to be a shirt that's going to have to be made for that. You just wear it on God TV, and Lisa and Mickey are like, what is that? It's like, that's my name on the streets, yo.
Oh, yeah, yo. That sounds like a cool indie wrestler name. I think I'm going to copyright it.
Funny bone Kool-Aid. I dig it. I mean, we have
flavor, maybe.
I mean, we had somebody named Cheeseburger, so it makes sense to have that.
That's true. I don't know if it was. I know it was me and someone else. We were joking that we wanted to be. We wanted to be his. Oh, it was Mary Kate and I back from Evolve days. We told him that we wanted to manage him and be the Fry Girls instead of the Fly Girls, like in Living Color. So Cheeseburger awesome. And the Fry Girls. I mean, tell me that's not money, right?
I mean, it makes a lot of sense to have that. I mean, cheeseburger and fries, they go hand in hand. I would love to see that. So would the idea be that you would be coming out looking like a bunch of fries, like with the costumes where they had like a cheeseburger and just you're like a well, I mean, we can't say McDonald's, but just like a tray of fries or something like that, just coming out, something like that.
Yeah, and like really energetic and just like, you know, I mean, I love a theme, and I'm sure that if anyone could make a French fry costume sexy, I think Mary Kate and I would have been up for the challenge.
I mean, they've done that with about everything else. So, I mean, my friend Fretz and I, we made a joke about Johnny Gargano, the fact that he keeps like putting a key in his trunks. It's like there's going to be like a Halloween like couples deal right there where it's just Johnny Gargano's key and something else. We're not even going to go into that, but it's just one of those things. Like the last.
Speaking of Johnny Gargano, I just saw today that WWE might be buying Evolve Wrestling. I hope that happens.
Ooh, now that would be interesting.
Yeah.
That video.
A little rumor I heard. I thought, ooh, that would be cool.
That video library would be just lit. So many people would probably buy the WWE Network more if they had that video library.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! But so fast forwarding a little bit to one thing that you did, still am indebted to you for doing this, was that when you were working with Fight TV, we got a bit of interesting episode, which I didn't get a chance to put up yet, but definitely check out the records for it. It's a pretty awesome show that we did where we were previewing Impact Homecoming, and we had that deal where you talked to the Fight people and said, you know, hey, he would, you know, promote this and we could do this kind of deal. Then they reached out to me. I'm like, oh crap, I'm actually working with Fight TV.
It's really happening.
It is one of those things where it's like, oh man, this is going to be awesome.
What has Bell got me into now?
I mean, I think that's the question I usually ask about every other interview that we do, but this one is like, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. It's 2 hours long. There's no way that you can get me into trouble. No, there's a slight chance. No, we'll see. We'll see at this point. But
never underestimate my ability to get you into a lot of trouble.
This is very
that should be on a t-shirt too.
Oh man, troublesome Tim. We'll just call it that. But
why don't we book indie shows? This is ridiculous. Now that we're thinking of all these ideas that are just clearly money. I mean, come on.
It's gonna be like a secret market where you and I are just thinking about all these random T-shirts, and then there's gonna be some that are gonna stick like no problem, and then there's gonna be others that will be like, why did we think about this again?
Yeah, who would think of that?
But yeah, that was an awesome opportunity, getting the chance to work with Fight TV, and I still have nothing bad to say about them. They are just a great promotion. They definitely are a great, you know, company to work with. They were definitely very communicative, which I'll tell you why communication is a key, especially with the relationship between you and me a little bit later. But no, that was a really awesome deal. And plus, we got to talk about, Impact. We got to talk a little bit about TNA, which, again, I will still call Impact TNA till the day I die. I refuse to call it.
I do it all the time. We all do. Like, even Mickey and Lisa and I, we don't ever call it Impact Wrestling. We call it TNA.
And it's kind of crazy because they had that big announcement that Tessa's going to be defending against 4 other people. And somebody in the bottom is like, so basically a King of the Mountain match. And it's like, why haven't they brought that back? Come on, I love that matchup. People are just like, it's stupid to hang the belts above. Yeah, it makes it more challenging. If you don't like the challenge, then don't watch it.
As long as they're not bringing back like that electrified cage match. Other than that, I've liked all of their matches. But that was like a weird McDonald's play place from hell. That was so odd.
Oh, the one with LAX and T. Oh, yeah, that's right. I think I do remember. Like even the finish was a little bit wonky, where it was like Homicide's supposed to fly into the cage, and then they're supposed to catch him with the 3D, but that didn't work out. It's like you got to practice more on that. A and B, electrified steel cage, which all it basically is just them selling the fact that this is electrified. Unless you're seeing like a little static shock, there's no way you're gonna get. I'm not saying do this literally. I'm sure Combat Zone Wrestling has tried, but definitely one of those things where it's like it didn't work. I do agree.
It didn't work, and it was awkward to like be there while it wasn't working. Do you know what I mean? Like I remember like feeling bad for the guys. Like why did they have to do this? That was true with some of the storylines too. Like remember the storyline with Dixie and the girl and AJ. I always hated that. So I don't know why they went that route. And it was like watching it was like there's a word they use in England, which we don't have a word that's an equivalent, and it's so perfect for this in this context. It was cringy. It was to watch. It was like cringe-worthy, we would say, but cringy. That's exactly what it was.
Oh man, actually, it is kind of funny because for some reason, even though the Claire Lynch deal didn't work at TNA, although it did bring us Bad Influence, which Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, oh god, they are absolutely amazing to just.
Oh, they
watch.
so are, yeah.
It did give somebody actually made that comparison with the WWE deal, but that also got us Chelsea Green. So that got her kind of in the wrestling realm, and next thing you know, you see her as Laurel Van Ness, and then she became the Hot Mess, and then she did that whole deal at All In, which in all honesty, I still loved that entrance where she just had like half makeup, half completely natural. It's just one of those things like, oh god, Chelsea Green, you're just a gift to us. In all honesty,
she is the gift that keeps on giving. Isn't she so talented? And again, and a really nice girl. Thank goodness.
Oh my god, she is. And I still love telling the story where I actually talked to her twice during All In weekend. One was just saying like, hey, are we allowed to do this? And she's like, oh well, it'll happen later on. And then for some reason, we just decided to take a picture next to Billy Gunn's table. So the guy that's there, he's basically taking the picture. He grabs the camera, and Billy just gives it back to me. He's like, we're not doing this. And Chelsea and I just look at each other like, what just happened? He takes the camera back, gives it to the guy. He's like, I'm kidding. Have a sense of humor, for Christ's sake.
He's so dry, though, that some people, they don't get his humor. Like, he asked me to go get him coffee or something once, and I forgot, and I came back, I think I brought him water, because that's all they had. And he was like, what the hell is this? Like, everyone was standing around, like, he has no, like, smile on his face. He's just dead serious. What is this, Val? What do you think you're doing? Do you know who I am? Blah, blah, blah. And for a second, I was kind of scared. But everyone was freaking out. This was at the last WrestleCon in New Orleans. And he was just like, what is this? Val, look at this. What is this? And I was like, I'm sorry. Blah, blah, blah. People were like, eventually he cracked a smile, but he really kept it going there for a while. It got a little scary.
Oh my god. I think I remember like a year after, I literally said to him, hey, now at least I have a sense of humor. He's like, yeah, he just broke laughing. Just like, yeah, I remember you. Just so great. He is absolutely amazing. So, and I actually remember whispering to Chelsea, I said, well, now I understand why we called him Mr. Ass. And she just smiles like, yeah.
That's him. Oh, we love him.
I definitely do want to ask about one other person in TNA, because I love his character in NXT, and I have just been quite the supporter for him. Robert Stone, aka Robbie E. I love this. I love this gentleman, and I got the chance to get a cameo from him to celebrate the 5-year deal. And in all honesty, it's still one of the best. It's one of the ones that he talks about how 5 years. That's awesome. Maybe down the line I could be on your show. It's like, there was that chance, there was that opportunity for me to have him on the show, which is which is a story I'll definitely talk about in just a minute. But what are some of your memories when it comes to Robbie? Or have you gotten a chance to even have cross paths with him?
Yeah, I mean, I used to be on the road. I would get my rental car. I can't speak. I was usually having to be the one to drive the rental cars, and I would always have a lot of the guys come with me because I was friends with the girls. But first of all, not a lot of girls were on the house shows. Secondly, my friends were like, yeah, I'll jump in with you. So I had Storm with me a few times, James Storm, quite a bit actually. Robbie E was with me a lot because we were just we are so such fans of each other, and he cracks me up more than anybody. And it's literally just he and I just giggling the whole time. There's a video that we did years ago. We got invited to the Marvel headquarters in New York City, right around Times Square, and that we filmed ourselves in the car. I saw an Elmo walking by because it was Times Square. It was the funniest video because he's just like a kid, and I'm like a kid, and we're just giggling. But there are so many stories. I just told a story today on GAW TV about how we went out to eat, a bunch of us did, and I ordered a bowl of soup because I wasn't that hungry, and he was like, oh, I got it, Val, you don't have to pay for it. I was like, oh, are you sure? He's like, yeah, I got you, girl. Okay. I'm like, okay. So we leave, and he starts giggling as we're all walking back to the car. I'm like, why are you giggling? What have you done? And he's like, your soup? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, I didn't pay for it. And I was like, oh my God. But you told me you did. And he's like, no. And he's like, I just knew you would freak out. He's like, it's like the scene of the crime. We're just walking away and you didn't pay for your food. And I was like, they're going to think that I stole it. He goes, I know, that's why it's funny. I was so mortified and so mad at him because he just knew that I'm such a teacher's pet that I would just be horrified that he would do that or that they would think badly of me, It was like a $3 bowl of soup, but still. Just moments like that, he's so funny. And then the last time we saw him, Alan always tells a story because he loves Robbie E. too. We sat down with him, and the first thing he says when we sit down at dinner, he goes, okay, who are we burying? Meaning, who are we going to talk crap on? And it was just he's so funny. It's all in good fun. We're not sitting there really bashing anybody, but he has such a good heart. But I have to say, if you look on Twitter, he's going through a lot with the Robert Stone brand that's kind of crashing down around him. And I did a video furthering this, and it's been so fun to see his interactions with me, Terry Runnels, Al Snow did a video where he completely buried him, and then Chelsea's back and forth they're calling him the hashtag Sadbert instead of Robert Stone. Sadbert. And it's been so fun to watch. I don't even watch as much wrestling as I used to, as you know, but that has kept me enthralled on Twitter lately. He
is one of those characters that just is absolutely amazing, and it's kind of one of those things where I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, is he slowly going to turn into the Robbie E character, or even he did a character on a small independent YouTube deal called Grimm's Toy Show, where he was just this crazy character. I'm thinking, are we going to maybe get Crazy Robbie or something like that? I'd be okay with that. Yeah. I'd love to see him just literally just break out and be like, yeah, I'm after everybody. I'm just going crazy. It's I don't care if he wins or loses. Just let him be crazy. Let him just have fun. That's the Robbie E I want to see.
Me too. And he's so genuine, and I love that he's kind of more in a managerial role because I love him as a wrestler, but he's so great in terms of personality. Hopefully he's teaching all of the, I'll say, kids at NXT because he's someone they can really, really learn from.
No, I definitely do agree with that. So it's kind of funny because you definitely have now given us two stories where a lot of wrestlers have definitely been talking about, ribs, of course, pranks or just these jokes that they throw at each other. And I will say this, that my co-host, Mr. Fretz, he definitely loves hearing some of these stories. One guy that we had on the show actually mentioned the fact that he was at the same hotel as a lot of people like Killer Cross, and I think he even talked to Jim Ross and stuff like that, where he is just crank calling them at 5 o'clock in the morning. Did that to Kurt Angle, and I'm just like, oh, geez, how are you not dead? Especially prank calling Killer Cross, that's tough, dude. That is a death sentence. Especially seeing him in NXT, the way they're building him, it's just this guy is just monumental. It is just amazing seeing him, and we even said that it's amazing seeing Scarlett go from kind of the sensual type with the smoke shop deal in TNA to now just being almost like this death angel that she's doing in NXT. Yeah. It's wow, this is a metamorphosis I was not expecting, and she's doing a damn good job. I'm totally on board for this.
Yeah, and she's gone through different characters. And I remember I met her years ago at a really random show. It wasn't even under a promotional name. It was Davey Richards actually hired a bunch of us. I was the ring announcer to put on a show. It's sort of like a men's, not Moose Lodge, but, one of those sort of like men's groups. I don't know what they're called. Kind of like an armory, type situation. Or in England, they have what you call like a Rotary Club. I don't know if that's a thing in America. I don't remember. Anyway, so it was a bunch of dudes, right? A bunch of business dudes. And we put on such a fun show. And Scarlett was there. Also, Barbie Hayden was there. I hadn't met her before either. And we had such a good time, all of us, going out afterwards. And Scarlett, I remember thinking, like, this girl's money. Like, the second I met her, I was like, she's a beautiful girl. She's nice. She seems really talented. She did a great job in her match. I was like, she's going to make a lot of money one day. And then I kind of started to slowly see her get involved with Impact Wrestling, and then now with NXT, and she's changed her look. I think it's cool that she's sort of ever evolving. I think that's to be commended.
No, definitely. The fact that she's able to adapt as well as she has, that's just absolutely amazing, and definitely hoping to see what more comes out of her as well as Killer Cross. I've literally gone on record to say, just give me Killer Cross versus Adam Cole, let him win the title off of him, and just hold it on for ever at this point. I've never felt this way since...
so talented. Oh my god.
I've never felt this way since Tommaso Ciampa started doing that whole deal where he's calling the title belts Goldie and he's referring to himself as Daddy. I'm just like, why is it that I'm a full-grown man and I'm okay with another bearded, bald-headed man calling himself Daddy? What? Is there something wrong with me? No, you love wrestling.
Yeah, that's sketchy.
Fair enough.
There's something for your therapy stash. No, just kidding.
Well, if I was going to do that, then I would have to have... Oh gosh, what my favorite guy's name? Oh my gosh, that one therapist that Kane and Brian had. I'm trying to remember who Dr. Shelby. That's who I would need to go to because he would have like all the solutions.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I mean, it's funny because some of these storylines really push the envelope, and you're kind of like, why am I into this? This is weird. Like the Bray Wyatt stuff, it's like, why is everyone into this like sadistic weird dude? He's so good at the character that it's like, I'm not going to question that. I don't want to pay for that therapy.
Well, why am I enjoying the fact that he's killing this rabbit Muppet?
Yeah.
It's like rabbit number 7 or 8 at this point. Who knows?
Yeah, it was like a sadistic Mr. Rogers, really.
It is. It's just absolutely amazing. So I definitely wanted to go back to talking about communication because one of the reasons why I love having you on the show is the fact that when it comes to talking about having you on the show, getting the chance to talk about some things when it comes to the show, you're honestly one of the best people that I've had the chance to have the best experience with because when it comes down to it. Like I said, guys, you look at everything and you see, people have on their pages, they're saying like, oh, you want to book me, hit that, hit the email link and send me a deal and blah, blah, blah. I will say that there's been a lot of times where I've had, done that and they'll either not give me a response, which is one of the worst things that they could do, or B, they just say not interested, which stings a bit, but at the same time, it's like, I understand. I totally get it. So when it comes down to it, you and your wonderful agents, I mean, I've praised them so much for just being so professional, and I think you're getting to the point where they are just absolutely amazing. There's even I think that it might even be Sheila at this point. I don't know who I'm interacting with half the time when it comes down.
Yeah, and there's a Colby, and there's a newer gal, Kat, who they all help. And what's cool is a lot of them have been with me for like a really long time. Sheila and Colby especially, and I just have such a nice team, And they're like some of them I know in person, some of them I didn't until later. And it's so nice because I think they see that I'm very interactive on social media and stuff like that. But there's only so much I can handle in terms of messages and direct messages and website updates, and some things I'm not even very good at, and they are stores stuff and whatever. So I've been very lucky to have a few people over the years, some that have come and gone, but most of them have stuck around because they're just really supportive of what I do and what I'm trying to accomplish. So I'm lucky for that, and it means the world for you to respect them and to praise them, because especially a lot of times, I'll tell you something funny. A lot of times people will, ask something that's sort of lewd, and what they have to explain and say, listen, we're not Val, but even if we were, like, you have to be respectful. I saw something on my store recently where someone was like, what's up with all this TV-14 stuff? When is she going to do nudity? And it's like, Val's not that kind of girl. And, and the way they put it was so eloquent. And I think if it were me, I probably would have gone off on them because I'm, I don't have to have a filter, and they kind of work for me, so they have to be nicer. But the point is they deal with a lot of crap, and they get a lot of messages that are ridiculous, or from either mean fans or fans that are just trying to be lewd. So I thank them as well, because it sort of like gets filtered before it gets to me, that there's a lot of creeps out there. So I think that's really nice that they step up and try to like shield me from it sometimes, you know?
I honestly can't imagine that there would be creeps that would just want to send you these creepy messages. I mean, that's just mind-blowing to me. My God.
Oh, yeah. A lot, yeah.
It is just amazing the world that we live in. But at the same time, like I said, when it comes to communication, it's always one of those things where anytime we finish up a show, they'll usually send me a message to be like, do you want to set up for another show, or what are you thinking for that? And one of the things I also love is the fact that getting the chance to actually do like these nice little small, you know, parting gifts to you to celebrate 5 years of working together. They've been really helpful in basically saying, well, okay, this is kind of what she's looking at, this is what she's kind of looking for, and it's like, okay, so you're helping me
narrow down. But a lot of times I don't know what's coming, and I think that's so hysterical that I'm like, what the hell? Like, how did this... And it's so freaking nice of you, and nice of them too, but especially you.
I always love doing that. It's one of those things where they'll tell me, should we tell her? I said, no, let's make it a surprise. Let's actually make it just one of those things.
I do love that.
That's good. You're probably one of the few women that have literally admitted, I do like surprises. There's other people that have just said, like, I'm not a fan of them because they're just, either it makes them uncomfortable, it just feels weird. But so far, you're one of the few that have said, like, I love surprises, as long as it's not something creepy.
I do. But you know what's funny is, like, I have an Amazon wish list, right? And I have, luckily, I have a friend here that, you know, because even, like, your address, you don't want to ever put out, right? And so, like, she'll collect mail. I had someone, my girlfriends in Orlando do the same for me. And, you know, so no one really knows my address. There's certain things you need to keep private, you know?
Of course.
And there was one thing that, I don't think I even told you this story. One thing that happened recently is a lot of times, like, she'll drop the mail off, or, like, even if it's something that I've ordered, I forget. I'm like, what is this? But the other day, I opened my door, and there was a bottle of Prosecco, like no note, just a bottle of Prosecco or champagne sitting on the doorstep. And I was like, no one that if this was Amazon or something, you know, Steph would have told me, it's my friend here, she would have said, like, hey, you know, this is coming, I'm dropping this off. It was like right in the middle. It wasn't hidden doll, you know, it was like right in the middle of the freaking doorway. And I was like, what is this? And I had a fleeting moment of thinking, oh my God, is this some creeper or some, you know, has someone found out? Ended up being a girlfriend of mine in real life. So she said she was at the store, and it was during lockdown, right? So she was like, I was at the store, and I thought of you, and I thought I'd surprise you with a little gift. I'm like, that's really nice, but it's horrible. But talking about what we just said about the fans, some of them are can be a bit too forward, or just, you know, weird and a little too intrusive is the word I would use. My first inkling was like, oh my God, who did this? What is going on? It was really scary.
It's one of those things where it's like, do I even need to, like, contact Nate? Nate, did you do this? It's like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I've done that before too. Yeah, like even wish list stuff, nothing like that where it's like unwrapped like that. But sometimes I'm like, how, you know, did you buy me this? And like someone will not include a note. And I've had a few gifts over the years where I'm just like, that's really sweet of you, but like, you know, something from my podcast just arrived, or a dress or something. And people don't want the recognition, which is actually very sweet, but it does make me wonder, like, who did this?
I need to know this.
Yeah.
I must know. Just please give me something that I can at least know who did this.
Yeah, who are you? I want to say thank you. I want to send like a note or something, but it's like, I don't know who the hell it is. Like, thank you.
Thank you,
whoever said that.
It turns out to be one of your creepers. It's like, thank you, never talk to me again.
Thank you, stay away. Thank you, bye. Thank you, bye. Hashtag thank you, bye.
Hashtag thank you, bye. And that's always something that's fun throughout the 5 years that we've been doing this, is that we always come up with these random hashtags that either stick very well and I remember them, or it's just like, it's going to be forgotten in like 5 years.
It's like our t-shirts. It's like sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it really effing doesn't.
But that's always fun. It's always great doing that kind of stuff. So I will say this, that one of the things that I definitely appreciate, especially when it comes to you, is the fact that you are indeed a genuine person. You definitely also show appreciation for people who have definitely, you know, treated you right. And there's not a better example that I could think of than our weekend when we were in New York for WrestleMania. That was just awesome. I think it was the first time we actually did a 2-hour show. And, you know, getting the chance to just sit down, we had a wonderful meal. I brought cookies and gummy bears because I knew that you mentioned that you loved that stuff. That was just great. And it's just absolutely awesome. And the fact that you said, like, no, I got this. Like, you sure? It's like, yeah. No, it's like, Wow. Okay.
It was so fun, wasn't it? Because there's why it was fun. Because the first time, and by the way, Nate, I cannot wait to do this again. And I have already told the Gaw girls that the next time we're all in the same place, we all need to get together for a podcast and have you interview us and do whatever you'd like. Honestly, it would be so fun. But the reason that one was fun is because the first time in Chicago, it was, near Chicago. What the hell was the name of that town? It was like something, not Chicago, but it was like a suburb. It was called something else.
Probably like Schaumburg or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah, I think it was Schaumburg. Yeah, that's right. So in Chicago, it was really fun because if you remember, like we said, there were people that were listening. We kind of had an audience. Well, this time in New York, or Jersey, technically, rather, it was just us in this diner. Like it was almost like a 50s style booth diner, and we had, we were recording, but we ordered snacks, and we were kind of giggling because like then the waitress would come over and she didn't understand what the hell we were doing, and it was like, don't worry about it.
That's right.
But remember that we got like all this American food that like I was super excited to get. That's like super generic, but because I live in England, it's like I can't get chicken fingers with honey mustard. I can't get mozzarella sticks, and my mouth is literally watering right now. And I was so thrilled to have all these like hilarious snacks as we recorded. It was just like it was such a fun moment.
It was absolutely amazing, and I think that was also the day where I got introduced to your teddy bear of love, Mr. Allen, who honestly is one of the nicest guys that I've ever met. I honestly would have expected, like meeting up with like somebody's husband, being like he would maybe be a little bit, proddy or something like that, or maybe he'd be like, what are your true intentions, stuff like that. No, he was he was definitely very down to earth, and he was definitely one of those guys who was just like, oh, you like wrestling? It's like, oh yeah, we've been a wrestling fan for a while. I talk a little bit about some of the stuff that he does, and he talks about his exposure to wrestling. I think that he even mentioned I think this either happened in real life or it was just an idea of it, where it's like it must be intimidating for you to have your wife know so many wrestlers. Like, oh, you have no idea. I literally could see somebody like Lisa or B. James just cornering me somewhere and being like, if you make her cry, we will find you and we will hurt you.
That's happened on many occasions, I'm sure.
That's because you're so loved. You're basically almost like, America's sweetheart, only in Britain.
Oh, well, thank you. But I will say, my mom always describes it like I'm kind of like everyone's little sister, because if you remember, especially in TNA, I was younger than everybody. I was contracted at 18, and people like AJ Styles were like older brothers. Like AJ's name is Alan, and then he met my Alan, and it was like I took a picture and said my two favorite Alans, and I told my Alan all about AJ for years and was like, he's like my brother. Like, he's just such a wonderful, wonderful dude. And when Alan met him for 5 seconds, he was like, he really is a wonderful dude. I was like, I told you. See, we were at WWE, and he got us like amazing seats, and then he had like a WWE employee come get me and Alan and bring us backstage, and he was like, Val, look around, it's our locker room. Bobby's here, EY's here, everyone's here. And it was so funny. That's my AJ Styles impression, by the way. And it was so funny and cute because it just validated everything that I had said to my Alan. Like, this guy is just a classy dude and just a good, salt to the earth person. So he could tell that even in the few minutes that we met him.
It is just absolutely just wonderful seeing that. And, again, maybe there are those moments where he is basically getting cornered and basically being told, break your heart, and we might just break you, but it's also one of those things where I see, especially on this past God TV episode, episode 3 or episode 4, I think it was, seeing that, that him, it's just one of those things that he's grown so accustomed to it, to knowing that, these are people that are definitely a part of your life, and that he's definitely not only embraced it, he's more than just encouraged it. I mean, I think he made that comment where he was saying to Lisa, Mickey, Shelton, or MVP, he said, like, when are you guys staying in our place?
And it's funny because they were laughing in the chat room because Mickey was like, I don't think he heard you. But MVP does stay with us when he's here. Lisa stayed with us before, and like literally, it's just people just think that's so funny because what the best part is we take them down to like our local like British pub that's really small, and it's like an old man pub. It's like really like old school in a town called Stony Stratford. That's like really like it was one of the first. I think it was the first coaching town outside of London. That's how old it is. And it's just sort of a quiet, sleepy, little adorable town. And when they have people like Lisa coming into the pub, who's just this bombshell, but she's, American. I don't want to say loud in a bad way, but, she's boisterous. And then you have MVP. It's just so fun to see everyone's reactions because these people don't watch wrestling and they don't really know who they are. They just know, like, that they want to get to know them. Like, what is this? Who is this character,
Right.
So cute.
Yeah. It's so cute. It's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
Are we,
Oh
are
my
we,
God.
oh my gosh, we're turning into California girls. Let's stop. All right. So you ready to answer some fan questions?
Yes, please. That sounds fun.
All right. So this one is coming from my co-host, Mr. Fretz, who has actually a couple of questions for you, but he has one question for me where he has asked the question, who has been your favorite person to interview, in parentheses, besides Val, of course, which he gets it.
Ooh.
He totally gets it.
Yay.
As far as who I've really enjoyed interviewing the most, it is a bit of a toss-up between so many people, but one that comes to mind is the tag team of Wild and Randy. It's a Wisconsin team here where they are just very, I don't want to say flamboyant, but they're definitely very, very mellow, definitely very fun-loving. It's just a great tag team. Just hearing them talk about some of their stories about how they met and how they became a team. There's even a story about how Randy tried to do like a ICE moonsault, and he failed miserably. Thankfully, there were 4 people there that were able to break his fall, so thank God for that. But they're just my favorite tag team here in Wisconsin. It's just absolutely fun just talking to them, getting the chance to just be like, hey, how's it going? They definitely are one of those teams that will make you feel welcome in the community, being like, we enjoy having you here. We enjoy seeing you cheer for us and stuff like that. It's wonderful. So
I love the name, Wild and Randy. That's brilliant.
It is. They also have a tie-dye shirt with them on it, and it kind of looks like Rick and. It is basically a parody of Rick and Morty. It's funny. It is awesome.
Oh, yay!
It's great. So his questions for you, Val, are: if you could be a manager for one person, alive or dead, who would it be? First off.
Ooh. When I think of like past superstars, I think that Ted DiBiase would have been someone really, really cool to manage, just because of the whole Val money sign, character. I think that would have been cool. I think we would have made a really cool team. Someone, it's a funny question, and I appreciate that, by the way, for the question. But it's interesting because it depends on really who needs a manager, who would benefit from having a manager. A lot of times it's kind of the more quiet wrestlers that get the managers, whatever. Other times it's like a really boisterous team. Like look at the New Day. Xavier is kind of manager plus wrestler, and it makes sense for them. Someone nowadays, like if I was in WWE, for example, like someone like a Dolph Ziggler, like I think he doesn't really need a manager by any means. Not that everyone, you have to, but he's just such a fun, outlandish, ridiculous character that I think he and I could come up with a lot of really cool ideas and like funny segments and stuff. Because that's what I love more than anything is when you're able to use social media in a way that's that furthers your character and furthers your storyline. So I could see that working out really well.
No, I could definitely see that too. Do you know who I could see you managing as well?
Who's that?
Sonya Deville. I think that you two would actually be a very interesting, it is kind of like, interesting characters for that, but I think, just you backing up somebody who is a complete badass would just be absolutely amazing. And you've done that before, too.
Yeah. I have, it makes me think of like Mary Kate. So Amazon Andrea, she was more like my bodyguard, but when I was sort of managing her and I almost said Ring Divas. My gosh, that's a blast from the past. Managing her in Shine Wrestling, it was really cool to have kind of this, totally tough, strong character, and then she had this little bratty manager that wouldn't shut up in me, and it was a really fun juxtaposition of that strong, silent with my chatty, bratty character.
The bratty character, the bratty character we've all come to know and love,
and hate sometimes.
Only slightly. The other question that he had: if you could be in one faction. He has who would it be, but I think he said which would it be. I think it's probably a typo. Thank you, technology.
Again, I'm thinking of old school, and who I always loved and I kind of secretly wanted to be a part of? Well, two factions. I wanted to be Terry Reynolds in the Radicals. Ooh. I thought that was a cool name. I thought that was the most talented group of dudes, and I really loved when Trish was with Test and Albert, and it was TNA. It was TNA, right?
Yes, it was TNA.
I remember thinking, I remember telling my friends when I was younger, I was like, I want them to do the thing where they, she's so small, they carry her over the top rope. Granted, she's like 5'2", and I'm 5'8", so it would have never effing worked. But I just liked that she was kind of flanked by these two huge, badass guys, and I just thought it worked really, really well. Kind of like APA, those were two guys too. I don't know how I would have, added my femininity to that stable or that tag team in particular, but I just think it would be cool to kind of have a couple really strong dudes around you that you could kind of have the whole Stephanie McMahon character like point and destroy. And I like that it's the juxtaposition, the marriage of like someone who's really feminine and girly with someone that's really, really strong.
Oh man, that would be pretty awesome. I don't know why, but for me, I thought that the Fabulous Rougeaus would have been a pretty interesting team for you to for you to team up with. Just they're waving their flags, you're just in the background waving.
Oh my god, I would love that. And I love the name. It's just it's very fancy.
Yeah, they would be out there looking fabulous, and you'd be the third fabulous member of that, and it makes sense. It makes obvious sense.
Triple fabulous.
Triple fabulous. Oh my god, the Fabulous Rougeaus and Val.
It's like, what?
Seems out of place. It's not. It's really not. If you've seen her, if you see her, you would think, wow, she would be on the runway. Yeah, she would, and she would be very fabulous.
I would do my best.
So this one actually comes from somebody over the pond, actually from Jermaine, who asked this question. Honestly, I'm not even going to have an answer for this because I've never experienced either, but this is more towards you, is what has been your favorite British TV programs to watch, and have you had a cheeky Nando's, I believe it is.
Nando's, yeah, you would love Nando's. I do love Nando's. Nando's is grilled chicken. I don't eat things on the bone, though, so I'm kind of like the boring person that gets like a grilled chicken wrap, but it's really, the reason I love Nando's is because it's really easy to eat healthy on the road there. It's one of those real fast food, like not like drive-through. Well, I don't know if they have a drive-through, not that I've seen, but it's sort of fast, like, fast food you can just go in and grab. But you can eat healthy there too. They have a lot of healthy options, a lot of options for low carb, which I do, and stuff like that. But yeah, so I've had Nando's. I love it. Not as much as the wrestlers do. Wrestlers come over here and they look at me like a huge roast chicken because they're just like meat eaters and they're just hilarious in that way. Favorite British TV shows? I will say that I've watched really old episodes of Only Fools and Horses, which is a comedy, and I've also watched a lot of Father Ted, which I believe is more Irish, but there's some really funny British comedy. It took me quite a while to understand British humor, and sometimes it still doesn't translate exactly right, but for the most part, those two shows they're absolute comedy gold. I remember years ago, Jericho told me to watch Fawlty Towers, and I was like, what's that? And now I see why people love it, but I haven't gotten into it as much as Only Fools and Horses and Father Ted.
The fact that the greatest wrestler of all time, Chris Jericho, is suggesting to you what to watch on a British TV.
I don't know why. We were talking about that one time. He was talking about like Monty Python and stuff like that, and I was like, what are these shows you're talking about? He's like, oh my god, no, how do you not know what Fawlty Towers is? I'm like, I have no idea, dude.
It is kind of crazy because I think that when it comes to British programming is that it's kind of one of those things where you kind of get the sense of humor or you don't, which
right.
I think that with Monty Python is the best case example. There's some things where it's
right.
like, okay, I get that. This is funny. This is why deal. And then there's some other things where it's like, I don't quite understand, but okay, yeah. I mean, whatever. But
yeah, but things of ours don't translate very well over here either. Like a lot, even Alan will try to. He loves a lot of my shows, like Will and Grace, and Friends is massive. It's on 24/7 here in England. Friends is more over in England than it is anywhere in the world. It's so weird. But granted, I think Friends is like the funniest show ever, so I understand. But like certain type of humor, like SNL, Saturday Night Live, I cannot find anyone in England that thinks it's as funny as I do, or that it's funny at all, which is shocking because I grew up on it and I could watch it forever. And people here just don't really find any of it very interesting. It's just not their type of humor.
Yeah, I think with SNL, it's again one of those situations where like sometimes you'll get it, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
Some kind of some of the sketches kind of stand out more than others. I will say this: one of my favorite ones to watch is the is one that's basically entitled "Bastards Airlines," which is basically a bunch of air stewardess that are just being rude to people. I think it's like David Spade and I don't know the other actress's name, but basically they're just like bye bye, and they're just they're just being completely rude. There's one moment where David Farley passes by and David Spade just goes, Chris Farley, I'm sorry, he passes by and David Spade just goes bye, you're heavy. And he's like, what'd you say? What? I said bye-bye. What else would I say?
I've seen all of those, yeah. And what's funny is my mom was a flight attendant, right? So she still says that sometimes as a joke about that. Yeah, she really says, okay, bye-bye. Helen Hunt was in one of those sketches, too.
Oh, my gosh. Mama Val is the best. I'm just saying that right now.
Hashtag SoCal Mom. They have Monty Brown like that back whatever year he was in TNA. I loved him. He coined the term SoCal Mom, and now everyone uses that name. It's so funny.
That's amazing. I will say another sketch of mine from SNL that I really enjoyed is the Jeopardy one with Will Ferrell and the guy who plays Sean Connery. Every time that those two come out, it's like it's always magic. Yes, it's just magic. Just hearing him just like get all the title sequences wrong. It's like I'll take Let It Snow for 500. Like it's Let It Snow. It's like no, it's a French phrase.
or like I won't say what he actually said, but the title of the category was The Pen is Mightier.
Oh,
so you can kind of deduce what oh my god, they're so funny. And actually, on Will Ferrell's Best of SNL DVD, there's some of that stuff on there because that was such a funny exchange between him and Sean Connery, played by was it Chris Parnell? No, I forget the guy who played him. He's so funny. That whole era of SNL with Will Ferrell, Sherry O'Terry, Chris Kattan, that was my era. Like Night at the Roxbury, a little before that.
Oh, definitely. Just seeing all that kind of stuff. And even when they did Black Jeopardy, that's always funny. Tom Hanks' appearance on there is just, honestly, hands down, amazing. Because it's literally one of those things like, so apparently the African-American race and rednecks are the same thing, apparently. It's like,
yeah,
I'm not so sure.
So lovable.
That is true. That is very true. So, I will say that another favorite moment of mine from our 5 years of working together is the crazy forum that we had. But I think it's about a month ago now already. Jeez Louise, where you
time flies. You're having fun, Nate.
Yeah, where we're literally, it's like, okay, we'll have you on the show, and then I don't know if it was you that brought up the idea, or if it was just somehow it got brought up in the conversation where it's like, well, I'm doing this thing. Would it be cool if we bring in? Would you be cool to have like Lisa and Melina on? And I'm just like, yeah. I need to read that.
I was telling you about them, and I'd already mentioned it to them before about you guys' podcast. And then I think I was telling stories about both of them, and then I on the show literally just said, "Why don't we have them on?"
That's right. Now I remember that. Now that's right. And then it became a reality, and it was literally one of those things where for me, I had like a forum idea. I had this deal where it's like, okay, I'll basically make it so that way that every single one of them has time to talk. But it literally went down to, I think between you, Lisa, and Melina are just talking about road, like all the road trips that you gals have done and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just kind of sitting here wishing I had like a bag of popcorn, listening to all these stories. And I think like almost halfway through, Lisa's just like, Nate, I am so sorry. I was like, no, continue on.
And I have to tell you, I felt so bad because I knew we were over speaking, which is just that's how God TV is. We just can't stop talking. But I knew that would happen. I just knew it because I know that we're all so talkative. And having three of us on, I was like, oh, good God.
But it was still a very entertaining deal. It was just one of those things where it's like, man, I never would have thought of even asking something like that, where it would bring up this conversation where, like I said, you girls were talking about the road trips and working with certain people and stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, I never would have asked that, but I'm glad that this is being brought up into conversation right now. This is just absolutely wonderful.
It was so fun, and I'm so glad that you kind of got to know them and got to know how we all are. It was kind of like pre-GAW TV, so it was kind of like the precursor to all of that, which is amazing. Now we got to have a GAW TV one with Mickey and Lisa someday.
Right. It's also great when you get that chance to meet those people, and you also get the chance to bring up like, oh, this is kind of when we first met and stuff like that. When I told Lisa that that during the women's matchup, you and Gail were sitting literally right next to me, and she was like, I knew you were sounding like familiar. It's like yeah, it's just like absolutely amazing because it's still one of my favorite things ever to talk about. The fact that get to watch a women's match, and I have Gail Kim and Victoria literally sitting right next to me. We're watching this and hearing, and again, experiencing a bit of the wrath that was Gail Kim and the deal with the Canadian Destroyer, where it's like, I see her point. Yeah. I'm in agreement with her. That is why I am just going to be. I'm going to be over here. I'm going to be over here just so I don't feel the wrath of Gail. Last thing I want is to get eat defeat.
I think that's what we were talking about. Yeah, we were talking about the fact that like who would you want at a bar that would kick ass for you? And that's where it all stemmed from. Mm-hmm.
It was a beautiful thing that stemmed from from who would you want in a bar fight, and that's just like, yeah, let's bring these people on. Let's prove that point, and establishing again that Melina is such a sweetheart. She is one of the nicest people I have ever met, other than you, of course. No brownie points, obviously.
You have to say that because I'm here right now.
just like Lisa fed me that line of, "Hey, she's gonna be 50. She's still out of my league." That just one of those things where just that was just great. It's still one of those things where I still say that it's a fact, because even if she was at 25, she would still be out of my league. Even if she was around 30, out of my league, 40.
Isn't it? I couldn't believe it when she reminded us that she's gonna be 50 next year. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Looks amazing. Amazing.
No, she does. Honestly, she's one of those people that somehow has the secret to the fountain of youth, because she does not look like she's aged like at all. She does a fantastic job of making herself look good. She does a great job of keeping strength and fit. And honestly, she's one of those women that I will still say that even at like 50 or 60, she probably could still beat me in like an arm wrestling match or whatever. Just, it's like anything physical, she's going to beat me.
Yeah, and she's super, super strong. But it's so funny that as strong as she is and such a badass, she's just like the most sweet. She's all like chocolate inside. It's adorable.
Oh, that would explain the toilet paper. Now I understand.
There you go.
Oh my God, it's just absolutely amazing, because as the years goes by, you definitely do see so many things that just absolutely change. I definitely will say that come year one, I was very meek and I was very petite. I was definitely one of those guys that did not want to, I had my shell, I had my comfort zone, I just wanted to stay there. But nowadays, it's like, I kind of want to do more stuff. I kind of want to be able to kind of open the envelope just a little bit more. Let's go to All In. Okay, this is going to be great. Get the chance to talk to people. All Out. Well, this time around, let's actually do something. Let's show appreciation for, some of the ladies that are there. Getting the chance to give all those wonderful women, a flower that I got from. I'm not even going to tell where I'm going to get that from, because I don't want to lessen the moment that much more. But it was still one of those things I absolutely loved. And there's like quite a few funny stories that I don't know if I've ever told you some of these stories. There was what I feel like I have to right now. I'm going to start with this story from All In, because it also is amazing that I got to meet these two 3 times in 1 year. First time getting a chance to meet Rosemary and Allie was just absolutely great. And first thing I said to Rosemary was that you're one of my all-time favorites. You do a fantastic job. Allie overhears this. She comes over and she's like, well, we should both be your favorite. We should be on equal footing. And it just kind of evolves like, well, she's kind of more my favorite. And Allie looks at me with this face and be like, you kind of hurt my feelings. And Rosemary whispers in my ear, tell her that we don't care. I'm just like, what she said. And it's crazy.
They're so great.
It's crazy because the following day I met up with them again. I talked to Rosemary for a little bit, and then I talked to Allie, and she's like, I remember you. You hurt my feelings. I'm like, crap.
Oh, crap. I'm never going to let this one down. Live this one down.
It's amazing just seeing that. And I got a photo with both of them individually as well as together, so that was just absolutely great. They're wonderful. Getting the chance to come see them in New York, I think they sort of remember, like, oh yeah, that's right. just that one photo of me and Rosemary just chilling in the background, and Allie's just doing like the point of like, he's two. And one of the first comments is, I think that's Cherry Bomb. So it's like, and I think it was at that moment I'm like, who the hell's Cherry Bomb? And then I see Masters of the Multiverse, like, oh, that's Cherry Bomb. Okay, it's like it's an alternate deal. But so basically, I'm giving out these flowers, and every single one of them has been a positive, receptive deal. Whether it was Francine, Britt Baker, Penelope Ford, I made her day just by doing that. And I think I even said at C2E2, sorry, I didn't bring a flower this time. She's like, oh, that's okay. And then Kip is right there saying, where's my flower? I'm like, did I just dig myself into a hole here with Kip Sabian? Next time around, make sure to next time around,
he's lovely. Yeah, he was with WOS, so we got to know him before he moved over. But he's so great.
He is absolutely amazing. So I got the chance to give flowers, of course, to Rosemary as well as Allie. Well, the following day, I I was waiting on Scarlett Bordeaux, and I was going to give a flower to her, but she and Killer Cross were running late for what reasons why. I'm not going to assume, I'm not going to guess anything. So it was literally like, okay, this is getting to the point of this year. So I literally gave a flower to Courtney Rush, who was at the Demon Bunny table. And I remember being in line for Scarlett, and Courtney looks directly at me, and she said, and I tell her, it's like, I was going to give this to Scarlett, but I think that you would probably appreciate it more. And she's like, oh, I would. And
That's so sweet.
And she when I'm in line for Scarlett, Courtney looks directly at me and she says, "You're not getting the flower back. You know that." It's like, I was never even going to ask. So it was just,
this was all at the same one, yeah? All in Chicago?
Yeah, it was all in Chicago. Chicago has been a very special place for me, and having those kind of moments, it's just absolutely great. So hopefully one of the big four or big events come through Chicago, and yes, we get the chance to have you and Mickey and Lisa, maybe Melina, just get everybody there. Just have like a huge GAW TV and Game Changer podcast coalition. Just meet up and we just, eat food, we have drinks, just something like that. And that's going to be one of those things where like, this is going to be like the ultimate bucket list deal right here, is having the chance to not only continue doing these shows with my great friend SoCal Val, but also she introduces me to so many people that I have admired and respected for so many years. And we all got to do a podcast together. Which,
well, I'm thrilled to be the connector, but that's what's great is like, it's almost like you're sharing. Like, I've already kind of talked them up before you meet them, and then they go, well, any friend of Val's is a friend of mine, but then they meet you and they go, oh my God, like, he also happens to be really, really great at what he does, which makes our job easier. I'm usually the one doing interviews, but when I'm being interviewed, I really do notice when someone's not prepared, they're not professional, they keep, it's the same questions like we talked about at the beginning of the podcast. But with you, it's always just like, trust me, you're going to love it. And that's Lisa and Melina could not have spoken highlier of you after the podcast. I knew they would.
That is wonderful to hear that. Sometimes it only takes like one moment and one time to make a positive impression. I'm glad that I was able to, put that impression on them the same that I did with you 5 years ago. Because I think I remember after the show was over, you saying like, oh man, that was so much fun. I'm like, am I going to be seeing her again, or is this going to be like a one-time deal? And hey, 5 years later, we've been doing a lot. We've been through a lot. It's been an absolutely crazy, wild ride.
Yeah, it's been so fun, and I think it's interesting to see like how we've evolved. Because remember, one of my favorite memories, if we can go down memory lane, might as well. Are you ready to go down there? Shall we, Nate?
Let's do it.
I loved the episode that we did. I believe it was Valentine's Day, where we actually talked primarily about relationships. It was a different departure for us. We've kind of gone into like movies and TV recommendations and things as well, because as much as we love wrestling, we now have gotten to evolve into other categories as well. And I think for the listeners, that's hopefully been as fun as it is for us to record, to, kind of cover all different areas and topics of conversation,
Yeah, it's one of those things where I definitely do get, when you're almost branded as, a wrestling loyalist, as I like to call it, is that, they want to keep it more wrestling oriented. They want to keep it as, just to keep the wrestling related questions, because that's all they're going to quote unquote know. And in reality, we do these other shows where it's like we talk about movies and we talk about, the dating advice deal. It's like she's got a lot more to offer than just, wrestling advice as well as wrestling connections.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, because that's kind of the basis of why we were starting GAW TV too, because it's like, we can sit there and talk about wrestling all day long, but we have a lot of different personal experiences. Like, it's nice because they've been responding really well to when we do get serious on the show, which is kind of rare. But like the other day, we were talking about wasted talent and like relationships that have failed because somebody didn't see their own potential, and all these serious things that we've all been through. And we always kind of wonder like, what's the reception going to be? It's not just us being silly and drinking wine and like cracking up, and Lisa in a dino outfit, which we all love. But it's funny to actually kind of gauge the crowd's reaction if we do get serious. And I think that's kind of been a nice surprise to me, that people are like, wow, that really resonated with me. And that's what we want to do, is kind of we sprinkle in some seriousness between all of the fun that we have.
No, definitely. And I'm going to predict this right now as far as GAW TV goes, is that it seems like in every episode, it's like, you're going to remember this episode because of something that Lisa did here. And then next episode, you're going to remember it because Val said this. And the next episode, you're going to remember it because Mickey said something here. I'm predicting that there's going to at least be one moment from, like, everybody going forward in every single episode. And I think it'll be funny if it continues, like, in that weird little cycle. But that's just one of those things I've kind of noticed where it's like, see, here's one from Lisa, here's one from Val, here's one from Mickey. I mean, I think that, you know, I think it is one of the situations where, like, do you think that Mickey peaked now that she dropped the F-bomb? It's like, no, it's only going to get crazier from there.
I'm telling you, we cracked up, and it was just so funny that it's sort of what people remember the most about the episode, but it's like, if it gets people to tune in, I don't even care. It's hysterical. It's so funny.
I mean, there's a lot of other things when I look at God TV, and I think, like, okay, people are going to remember it because of these small moments here, mainly. But what were some of the other things that they, you know, talked about during these episodes? Some things that you've talked about have been, you know, some of the road trips that you guys have had, the coffee brands that you were promoting in the last one, some of the things that you guys have been doing since quarantine took place, and, you know, just talking about, you know, your gals' lives. So I'm just going to say this right now to you, to Mickey, to Lisa. Thank you so much for opening up your world and helping us better understand who you are as individuals, as well as who you are as a unit.
I appreciate that. Thank you, because sometimes it's not easy to be so personal, and, like, I've kind of been protective over, I still am in some ways, over my super, super personal life, but,
yes,
you know, especially having Mickey and having Lisa, you know, who are my actual real life friends, like, we talk on Voxer all day, every day. Like, these are girls that are, like, you know, always going to be in my life, and I'm always going to be in theirs. And, you know, we've been there with each other for so many different things, and breakups and this and that, and career changes and moves and all this. And I think that's what keeps me strong, is the fact that I've got my two gal pals there, you know?
I honestly don't know if there could be anybody that you could have chosen better than Mickey and Lisa. They definitely are just wonderful to listen to, wonderful to watch, and definitely looking forward to seeing what else that you guys, you know, bring to us as far as God TV goes. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how that goes. That's going to be absolutely amazing, and I'm looking forward to seeing, you know, future episodes where you bring, you know, people on, where you talk about just anything from, like, movies to anything like that. I will say this, that I think that one of the first times that we started talking about something other than wrestling was when we were in New York, and I think, wasn't that around the time that you joined Screen Stalkers, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah. I think I had just joined it because I had been on Wrestle Talk, like, many, many years previously, but then they created this whole channel, Screen Stalker, that was about film and TV reviews, and I kind of got to branch out. It was kind of through a wrestling organization, but then they went a different way with it, and I got to be on the channel that was non-wrestling related. I thought that was really kind of a cool career move.
It was one of those things that I was just like, well, this is kind of unexpected, but hey, if she's, you know, interested in doing something like this, why not incorporate something like that into, you know, the podcast? I think that was one of the things where it was like, okay, let's talk movies here. We'll talk wrestling later on. I think we did, like, movies for the first hour, and then wrestling for, like, the second half hour, because, oh gosh, that card was, like, brutally long. And I do remember just watching that entire event, and I think that we just finished the show as it was about to rain, I think about maybe half an hour later or something like that, and that was already miserable. That was bad. I already heard that there were people that were kind of, you know, had that bad experience with WrestleMania 29 was around there, and it felt like it got worse with WrestleMania 35, which sucks, but at the same time, that's kind of the small price you pay for watching incredible night of wrestling.
Yeah, no, and it's weird because we've talked many times about WrestleManias and things, and how, you know, when I went to, the last one I saw live, I believe, was in, I guess it was the one in New Orleans. Yeah, I mean, I've watched them all live, but I actually went to the one in New Orleans, and I was there for, I think, 7.5 hours. And I'm like, that's just, you know, every year it just seems to get longer and longer, doesn't it? It
really does. It's bad. Thankfully, this time around they made it into 2 nights, and both nights were pretty successful, in all honesty.
Yeah, and it has, and honestly, this year was interesting because of lockdown, how they did it. And truthfully, do I think they should have gone through with it? I don't know. But if it can bring us matches like AJ and Undertaker, where it was, like, cinematically awesome / hilarious, I'm here for it, because I was so impressed with that match. I thought it would be so weird, and I loved it.
Have you been watching the series that Undertaker has been doing on Network, the Last Ride series that he's been doing?
No, I've heard about it, but I have not watched it.
I definitely will say this. It's a highly wonderful recommendation. I'm actually watching the recent one that they had right now where they're going into the Saudi Arabia match where he had with Goldberg, and all I'm thinking to myself is, oh boy, what are some of the things that this guy is going to say, because that match was tougher to watch than the match between HBK, Triple H, and him and Kane, that tag match that they had at Saudi Arabia, which I'm going to be one of those people that says that I don't think the Saudi Arabia show should happen, especially over the very bad controversy that they had. But at the same time, I get why they're continuing to happen. It's just, I don't know. It's just bad publicity for WWE to go through this and kind of be like, oh no, it's fine, it's fine. It's like, you got a couple bad deals here, you got a couple of bad shows here. Something's got to give. But
yeah, and it's also weird when they have the guys who are coming out of retirement for one match, and it's like, but is it healthy? I always just wonder, is it healthy for them? Are they just, let's not, they're not workhorses. Let's just be careful and kind of let people retire when they want to retire. And I'm not saying that anyone's forced to do it, but it does make you wonder, like, gosh, should they be out there still? Like, their bones are different now. Their alignments probably vary off. I worry about them, and I worry about their families.
I mean, I think that's the best case. Best example of that has been Bret Hart. I mean, the fact that he's been able to come out every now and then, but not take a single bump. Hey, they make it work for him. That's great, but at the same time, it's like, you do realize that one bad bump and he could possibly be paralyzed. It's like, I don't want to take that risk. I really don't. And I know that there's other people that say, like, well, he's fine, he's protected. It's like, still, you can't say that 100% with certainty. You gotta be safe. You gotta be safe about it. You also gotta be smart about it. And honestly, I'm gonna be the one of the people that says this right now. I think that Undertaker is on his, last bit of momentum, and it's gonna be a sad day to see him go. Finally, it's gonna be a very sad day.
And I have to say, like, I worked with him back in December.
Really?
And he is the coolest guy. Yeah, I did find out that I can't drink more Jack Daniels than him. I'm sure I told you that story. And the next day he was like, Val, he goes, I don't know why you did what everybody always tries to do. You try to outdrink me. He's like, why would you ever think you can? I'm like, I don't know, sir, but it was my honor to try. Because I was like, I'm not going to get a selfie. I got one picture at the end because one of the guys who they have the sweetest crew, Monopoly Events, they said, get this picture with them. I was like, oh, okay. But I'm like, I don't want a selfie. I don't want anything. I'm like, will you do a shot with me? He was like, yeah. So we did double shots of Jack Daniels, and then we got like more double shots coming. The promoter was with us. It got so hairy and hilarious. I can't even tell you. The last thing I kind of remember is like us banging our fists on the table, like shouting funny things in the bar. I was like, this is surreal. What am I doing right now? Oh, he's so effing nice. I'm telling you, he's the coolest, most chill dude ever. And I watched him interact with fans for hours and hours and hours and hours. And he was just awesome. Just an absolute star.
It is kind of one of those things where I'm just imagining that, and I'm almost thinking that you're going to pull like a scene from Thor, where it's just like, this was great. Another, you just drop the shot glass on the ground.
It's so true. That's the scene that I'm picturing. Yeah, that's exactly where it was.
So mental note, if we ever go out drinking, then it's going to be one of those situations where you try to do that. I'll be like, Val, just remember, this is not yours. I'm just going to put this here. Just.
I honestly, I was so pleasantly surprised because I'd always heard that he was just really serious and all the guys respected him, but no one ever acted, and I've always heard good things, but no one ever said like, oh, he's hilarious or he's super sweet. It was just kind of like, oh, I love Undertaker. And I was so pleasantly surprised that he was really, really cool.
So I definitely do want to ask this question because I think one of the things that I'm definitely appreciating more is a lot of the crazy stories about people who just, get ribbed, or they just have like pranks on stuff. Like we talked about Robbie as well as Billy Gunn. Has there ever been a time where you got ribbed like super bad, even worse than those two times?
Oh gosh, I think the soup thing is what sticks out in my mind, just because, like I said, I know it was just a bowl of soup, but I was like, I'm a criminal. And they wanted to go back there the next day. I was like, we can't return to the scene of the crime. They're going to be like, that's the girl with the soup. I don't remember what town it was in, but I probably would avoid it just because I'm that anal about stuff like that, but I can't. I mean, it was so funny. I'm trying to think if I was ever ribbed, but like funnier than that. I don't think so. I've been pretty lucky in that sense. I mean, the guys always try to like do little things here and there, but no, I think that speaks volumes that they must know that not to mess with me, maybe.
Well, I mean, we have established the fact that you're allergic to bruises, that you're scared of pain, and you know, I was going to make a joke that, you know, proving your point about being allergic to bruises, because I do remember when that fight broke out between Sanjay and Lethal during Karen's angle, and you know, Lethal elbows you in the face, and just the way that your eye looked the following deal when you made that the triangle love ladder match deal. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, this is the case in point that she can make about her being allergic to bruises, because that just looks brutally nasty.
Yeah, I loved that segment. I thought it was so funny. Just the fact, like when it's Jay that runs in, I believe, or something. I think it's Sanjay that runs in. Oh my god! And I remember the dress and just being like, I love a talk show segment. You know, I've always loved those kinds of like dramatic moments, and I was so thrilled to do that.
It's one of those things where, you know, it definitely is like blurring a little bit of the line of reality, where it's like, oh man, is this actually really happening? Is this kind of like the Mega Powers, you know, 2.0 here? Again, I'm still waiting on that answer, Jay, for, you know, whether you and Sanjay have kind of reconciled. And in all honesty, I'm hoping that you have, because I would love to see you guys, you know, team up again. Only thing would have to be he would have to sign with WWE, because I think Sanjay's an agent. Yeah, he is an agent for.
He is. I saw him. I think he's still there, and I'm so proud of him, because he just has such a great mind for wrestling that it makes perfect sense for him to be on that side of things.
No, definitely. And I will also say this: I'm that one person that said, if ever there was a time to put the X Division title on him, it would have been that time where he turned completely heel. You were his manager. That would have been a time for him to be like, you know, have the ultimate deal where now he's, you know, he's the champion. And for you, it's like, well, he's the champion, he makes more money, which means happier Val.
Which we know is the secret of my success and the way to my heart, sadly.
Either that or a really good stiff drink. That's why Alan has won your heart over.
They go hand in hand, I think.
Oh, man. So we are just about to call it a day, you guys. In all honesty, this has been one of the best shows with having you on, Val, and I cannot thank you enough for 5 great years of just absolute wonderful entertainment, of just getting the chance to just talk about whether it's wrestling, dating advice, movies, just getting that chance to just, you know, talk like just two regular people who are just enjoying life and thinking more about the fact that, you know, there's more positive things in life than negative. So thank you so much for being such a sweetheart, such a doll, and for putting up with this, for putting up with me, even the dumb jokes that I come up with.
Well, honestly, Nate, I can't thank you enough, because it's an honor to be on the show, and an even bigger honor to call you a friend. So I've had such a fun time. I hope that the listeners have, you know, like I said, seen us sort of evolve and cover a range of topics as we sort of evolve in our own lives and careers and things like that. So again, I always say it, but I'll say it again, you are a pro and a star, and it's been so great to be able to be on this journey with you. Yep,
and in honesty, I think that we're going to be doing this all the way until, like, I reach the 25-year mark, and, I mean, we're still going to be doing this kind of podcasting during that time. And I think, like, once we hit that 25-year mark, I think that's where I'm going to call it a career. So, like, you know, I've made it this far, did it with a really good friend of mine, and can't think of a better way of going out than just, you know, that'll be the final show, is just literally people calling in, people talking, and then it's just going to be a show of just me and you talking about random stuff that's going on. Maybe by that point we'll have, you know, flying cars and maybe some other stuff that the future promised us, but obviously it hasn't.
Yeah, and we just, like you said, we have to stay positive, and, you know, while this all sort of blows over, and I just, you know, it's stuff like this, and I'm thankful that we can do things that are virtual that hopefully obviously make us happy, but that can also make the listeners happy. And if this was a little bit of escapism just for a bit during all this craziness, then we've done our job.
Most definitely. So, with that being said, Val, I know that you probably have a long list of things that you want to plug, so the floor is yours. Please, tell us where they can find you.
Plug something? No. No way. Well, you have done such a great job, which I thank you again for plugging GawTV. It's GawTV.com. We're on all social medias, Facebook, obviously our show's on YouTube. We will say that what we always try to emphasize is to subscribe, because we love that you watch the episodes, but subscribers are what we're looking for, because that makes our jobs easier in terms of promoting. And we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Of course, my Patreon is patreon.com/SoCal Val. GawTV's Patreon is patreon.com/GawTV. And it's kind of a nice way for people to kind of show support, because a lot of the stuff isn't free. You know, we're talking websites and equipment and all this stuff. So I have a really loyal fan base that's really nice enough to support me via Patreon. Plus, it's my pleasure to give back and do these photo shoots and give exclusives to all the fans, because that's what I love to do, is photo shoots and to get glam and have an excuse to do it. So the fact this is my job, I feel very blessed. #blessed. So yeah, I'm all over social media, always there, willing to tell you guys about new projects, which there are many coming up. So I'll see you probably on Twitter. I think that's my favorite medium after all. What do you think, Nate? Are you a Twitter fan the most? Instagram second?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I'm there too.
So definitely people can check me out at real-FM-game, as well as the great place of Wrestle Addict Radio, who are just absolutely amazing, you guys. They have been very supportive and definitely giving the Game Changer podcast that platform to definitely continue to go above and beyond of just not only wrestling, but also reaching out to you guys and hopefully having a positive impact. So much that I will definitely give this plug on teesprings.com/WrestleAddictRadio. We actually do have a lineup right now to support people in the month of June for Pride Month. So definitely check out all of the great merchandise that we have going on for there. And 100% of those proceeds are going to be going to the Trevor Project, which is dealing with people who are in the LGBT community under the age of 25. Definitely show some love to the Pride community. Definitely show some love to Wrestle Addict Radio. We definitely do love and appreciate you, and it's people like Val that definitely keep us going and keep us in that positive deal. So again, can't thank you enough, Val, for just being.
Nate, if I did not think you could even make me any prouder, but the fact that you are mentioning Pride Month and the LGBTQ community, and especially the Trevor Project, which I'm very familiar with, that is outstanding. So thank you for that, and thank you for always having a good cause in the forefront.
Well, I mean, even though I can be a cruel and very vile individual, which you've learned over the last 5 years, I have to have some kind of heart.
Yeah, I won't tell anyone, though. It stays between you and I. Don't worry. I won't ruin your street cred.
Right. You won't ruin the persona that I have right now, because that would just make everything just wrong.
If you don't tell them that I don't have a heart, don't tell them that I have a heart, and I won't tell them that you have a heart. It'll stay right here on the Game Changer podcast.
You know, I won't be able to tell them that, you have a heart, but I will tell them that, the easiest way to your heart is either A, fashion, B, a good drink, and it's got to be a good drink. It can't be one of those knockoff drinks, because we already talked about that earlier. And and just, actually, and I think this is the main one, being an actual human being and not a creep, because that's the main one.
Exactly. I do appreciate that about people. And especially one who gives back. So that's amazing that you guys are partnering with the Trevor Project. It's a really, really worthwhile charity. And, me being such a fan of shows like RuPaul's Drag Race, and they bring a lot of those charities to the forefront, and then I go Google them and learn about all the great things that they do. So that's really great, Nate. That's awesome.
It is just one of those things where we are trying to give back to the people that have definitely made a difference in this world, especially during these hard times. It's the least that we can do to say thank you to those people. And again, thank you, Val, so much for 5 years. And here's to another 5 years, 10 years, 50 years. Honestly, I think Zack Ryder said 50 years, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to make it that far. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be. I can't see myself being like 80 years old and continuing to do this podcast. I don't know about that.
You never know. You never know.
If he's able to do that, and Chelsea Green has not scolded him for continuing to talk about like action figures and stuff like that with Kurt Hawkins. Hey, honestly, that's one of those things where it's like, Zach, she's a keeper. She's definitely, but at the same time, it's just absolutely. That was one of those things I absolutely loved. I know we're getting down to the wire, but that was just something that I thought was amazing. Seeing the two of them, just being so happy together, and then Chelsea showed the kind of like the proposal setup and everything that went down. That was just. It was beautiful. That was just great.
It is, and and yay for love, as I was saying earlier about people, getting together in the wrestling business. I can't think of a better couple. They're so wonderful.
Oh man! So actually, I don't know if I've ever asked this question. So, with you and your hubby, how did he propose to you? Was it like nice and romantic on a nice, beach, or was it just one of those things where you guys just went to a fast food place and he just said, "Hey, you want to get married?" or something like that? I always say that. I will say that the reason why I say that is because I still kind of laugh at the Batista documentary where he basically just mumbled this proposal to his first wife Angie, where he's just like, "Hey, what would you think about possibly being my wife?" And they just go to the courthouse and then they have a hot dog to celebrate. It's like,
oh my God! With all due respect to Batista, I'd sooner die. I couldn't do it. Sorry, bro. You know how Alan and I are not at all extra, right? I mean, he doesn't wear glittered loafers, and I don't, flit around in ball gowns. We are so extra. Who am I kidding? And should not surprise you that he proposed at Downton Abbey.
Really?
Yeah, it is called Highclere Castle. If you Google it, there's an outdoor area that he proposed. But it's funny because I didn't really see it coming because we knew we wanted to get engaged and whatever. But I thought he was going to propose a few other times before that. So when I thought maybe he was going to do it there, I thought no, he's not going to do it because he didn't do it the other times. And he is just not the type of person to be nervous, and it's probably the only time I've ever seen him nervous. And it's a very long story, but it was a beautiful day, and we had a friend with us that came to do the Downton Abbey tour, and he's a photographer, so it was nice that he was there because he brought his camera, and I didn't think anything of it. I thought he was just taking pictures of the grounds, and it's a beautiful castle, and it made sense, but we got some beautiful engagement pictures because of him being our photographer and our friend that was there. So it was gorgeous. It was I don't really remember what he said per se. I mean, I can tell you what kind of the usual sort of, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, blah, blah, blah. But I just kind of, it's just like a weird whirlwind. You think, oh my God, it's happening. And you're just kind of staring like, oh my God, what? And the ring, I swear to you, the ring was so beautiful, but it wasn't really anything we had tried on before. We tried on rings, we knew we were going to get engaged, right. But he had it custom made with his family's diamond and then put other diamonds with it. But it was so gorgeous and so big, and he's such a jokester that when he showed it to me in the proposal, I remember thinking, if this ring is fake, I'm going to be real pissed off. Because it just sounded, just for a split second, I thought, he's such a jokester that I hope he's not just proposing with this fake ring. Is this real? It took me a minute, but yeah, it was a beautiful day, and I'm just so glad that we have those professional photos now to kind of commemorate it. It was beautiful. It was really fairy tale like, which is funny because in some ways I'm not very traditional like that, but in that sense I was like, oh yeah, that's a big deal. And I still forced him to celebrate our engagement, which was December 7th. So we still do that. Everyone's like, no one has an engagement anniversary. I'm like, well, I do, and we do, and we're extra, so whatevs. You do you, boo.
Fair enough. It would be one of those things where if he did do kind of like the like the Jim Halpert deal, where he just kind of just goes on one knee and he's just like, just tie my shoe. Just doing that.
That's something he would totally do. Yeah, that's his kind of humor.
Oh man, that just means that he and I would just be like best buddies if he's that kind of trickster.
Totally.
I'm just imagining now just being like, oh dude, it'd be kind of funny. You should do this while Val's asleep, and just like, hey, Nate put me up to this. And I'll just get like this random rage tweet from you being like,
How dare you?
How dare you put this in my husband's...
It's a very British thing people say over here. They say, how very dare you?
How very dare you?
How very dare you?
How very dare you put this idea into my lovable, cuddly husband's head. Now he's on the couch. Are you happy? That just means that he did it right.
He and MVP are like that too. They're just they're good buddies and they're pranksters. So he doesn't need any help in that joking with me area because he has a fake spider he hides around the house. That's his humor. It gets me every time, and he laughs so hard every time. It happens like at least 2 or 3 times a week, and I'm still not okay. Like I still don't ever see it coming. It's in my shoe. It's on a plate. Like it's because they have big spiders here too. So I'm just like always assuming it's going to be that.
Oh my gosh! I'm now
That's his humor.
Shout out to MVP and to Alan for just possibly giving Val a heart attack. I mean, she's in her early 30s, and she does not need a heart attack before she hits the 40. She doesn't need it when she hits 50. Come on.
Early 30s, remember? Early 30s. It's only 34.
Early 30s, Val, at least for one more year.
One more year, that's right.
The hashtag, one more year. One more year.
One more year. Yeah, I was thinking about it today. I was like, I think by 35 you were definitely mid-30s. But 34 you can kind of get away with, you know.
Yeah, at the date where it's like 34 years, 34 years, 364 days. It's like, that's just about reaching that mid-30 range. And at midnight,
like it's like when people go like, oh, it's 34 the sequel. That's my birthday. It's 34 the sequel.
Oh man! So now when we get the third installment of that 34. Oh, we're doing this again. It's going to feature you and just.
And what's funny is I've actually never been like weird about like turning like when I turned 30. Some friends, like I have a good friend of mine that she was like really freaked out about turning 30. I never cared about that. But the thing is, I'm always the youngest of my family. I have 2 older sisters. I'm the youngest one. You know, usually on all the wrestling promotions, I was always the youngest one. So I think I've kind of looked forward to like being taken a little more seriously and not being like everyone's little sister, like I talked about. In some ways, that's really good, and you're kind of shielded from stuff. In other ways, it's like, oh my god, I'm an adult. I swear. So it's actually been okay. I'm joking about that. I won't care about being 35.
Oh man, I absolutely love it. So I do want to tell like one funny like mini story before we do finally end the show. I will say that it's one of those things where I still see on my Skype call just you holding the Fight TV microphone, and it still reminds me of, I think it was All Out, if I'm not mistaken, where literally I saw this guy, he's representing Fight TV, and all I'm thinking in the back of my head is like, boo, where's Val? It's like,
everyone was. I think that was that wasn't that long ago, was it?
No, it was about a year ago.
Lockdown wise, it was.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where it was like, man, I wanted to have another situation. I come down to Chicago. I see my friend. Is this too much to ask, Fight TV? Let me see my good friend SoCal Val. Damn it.
Yeah, it is really tough. Like we're talking about doing GAW TV sometime on the road, and it's like it's just so. First of all, lockdown, but secondly, getting me all the way over from the UK is tough, especially when it's like to get to New York, for example, is it's not that horrible of a flight, and it's but Orlando or like especially like California and areas like that, or like in the middle of the country, it's just such a long flight, such an expensive flight, and it's just a lot to be away. Because then you also don't want to like fly all that way and then be somewhere for like a weekend and fly back. Like that sucks. And then your time is off. I'm 5 hours ahead of Eastern time. I'm 8 hours ahead of Pacific time. So it's a lot of jet lag. It really, really, that's not something I like at all. I don't deal with jet lag very well, and I get it really bad.
Oh boy! So now I'm just imagining now that we, if we do get that chance to actually get you over here for like an ACW show, and it's just for the whole entire weekend, I'm just thinking to myself, I better make this like a really damn good weekend for her, because otherwise she is going to be like, I am never coming back to Wisconsin ever again.
This is far. Yeah, no, and I love any excuse to go back to America, but it is interesting how the jet lag really affects you. And then it's always like going there is not a big deal, because like I would say I'll land in Orlando, I still have time to go out, it's fine. But it's coming back where I don't sleep on the plane. You're pretty much going overnight, and then I get into London at like 6 or 7 in the morning, and I'm so tired. It takes me sometimes like over a week to get over that jet lag. That's not something that I can tell you I have a cure for, because I have not found one yet. If anyone's listening and wants to send me jet lag cures, I am all ears.
I'll send you like a top 5 Google list or something like that. Hopefully that helps out. If there's one,
no joke.
There's at least a 1 out of 5 chance that one of them is going to help you out, and if all of them fail, then I'll be like, sorry, Val. #sad
I'll try anything at this point.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this 5-year journey. Thank you for joining us for this 5-year anniversary episode. For SoCal Val, I've been NateFNGreat. This has been the Game Changer Podcast, a part of Wrestle Addict Radio. See you guys later, and hopefully some of you are enjoying Backlash. Hey, it's the greatest wrestling match ever. We'll see.
Stay tuned.
1, 2, is this on? Yo, Jimmy, hit me with that Triple H. Yeah, you let the music keep playing, Mr. Dumb. Yo, tell me whose time it is now.